Chapter 139. The Demon Wolf Warriors and Demon Wolf Mages were chasing after Yin Duo. Bullets and ice cones with flames exploded in front of Yin Duo. Snowflakes filled the sky as the explosions continued. Yin Duo was running while fighting back. Xiao Pingan discovered that Yin Duo seemed to have a spatial equipment on his body. The weapon in his hand changed from a pistol to a longsword, and then from a longsword to a shotgun. With a shot or a fireball, a Demon Wolf Warrior would turn into a fireball and explode. The Demon Wolf Warriors were very fast, but the firing speed of their firearms wasn't. After each shot, the Demon Wolf Warriors had to reload their firearms. The reloading method was a bit like an old-fashioned flintlock. First, the powder was loaded, and then the bullets were reloaded. Because of this, the firing speed slowed down. The Demon Wolf Warriors also had something like a horn on their backs. They could reload while running. While reloading, they would pour the thing in the horn into the barrel of the gun and then tamp it down. Yin Duo's shotgun and fireball were used to detonate the thing in the horn. In the blink of an eye, Yin Duo rushed into a 5-story building in the village. The Demon Wolf Warriors also followed him in, crowding into a group. A few seconds later, Yin Duo rushed to the roof of the building. His hand suddenly changed as he took out a special crossbow. While running, he shot the crossbow towards the roof of another building 60 or 70 meters away. After the crossbow was shot, the head of the bolt turned into a flying claw, and the tail had a black string. After the bolt hit the roof of the house in the distance, the flying claw grabbed the fence of the roof. Yin Duo ran and pulled the string. He found that it was quite firm. He grabbed the string of the flying claw and jumped down from the 5th floor. He quickly landed a few meters above the ground and left the building behind him. All of a sudden, he left all the demon wolves behind him. Yin Duo was really too slippery. When the demon wolves rushed to the roof, they found that Yin Duo had already escaped from the roof. They were in a mess and wanted to come down from the building. At this time, Xiao Pingan made his move. When Yin Duo was escaping, Xiao Pingan also came out of the room and hid behind a house not far away. Those demon wolves were chasing after Yin Duo and didn't notice that there was a summoner hiding in this small village in the wilderness. Seeing a large group of demon wolves rushing into the 5-story building, Xiao Pingan didn't say anything. He took out an individual fuel air explosive and fired it at the 5-story building. However, Xiao Pingan's fuel air explosive launcher only vibrated slightly when it was only 200 to 300 meters away. The tail flame of the fuel air explosive launcher had already reached the outside of the small building like an arrow and instantly hit the entrance of the small building. A large group of Demon Wolf Warriors were just about to rush out of the entrance when they were hit by the fuel air explosive bomb. Boom! The explosive agent in the fuel air explosive bomb turned into a ball of fire that rapidly expanded, swallowing dozens of Demon Wolf Warriors in an instant. Half of the building collapsed. This explosion was more shocking than all the previous explosions combined. Yin Duo, who was running in front, felt the shock wave behind him. He suddenly fell to the snow. He looked back and cried out in his heart, "Damn, who is so fierce?" After firing a fuel air explosive, Xiao Pingan waved his hand and another fuel air explosive appeared in his hand. He aimed at a magic wolf mage and fired another fuel air explosive at him. There were more than 10 demon wolf warriors beside that demon wolf mage. When Xiao Pingan fired the fuel air explosive, that demon wolf mage had already rushed towards Xiao Pingan. But that demon wolf mage didn't expect that Xiao Pingan had a second fuel air explosive. The fuel air explosive hit the target. That demon wolf mage and more than 10 demon wolf warriors were torn to pieces by the flames of the second fuel air explosive shot by Xiao Pingan. Not every magic wolf mage was as strong as the magic wolf mage that Xiao Pingan had killed last time, able to defend against a powerful weapon like the fuel air bomb. Before those demonic wolves could react, Xiao Pingan took out a single fuel air explosive launcher in less than 0.1 seconds and shot it towards the pack of demonic wolves. Xiao Pingan's fuel air explosive shot was as if it didn't cost anything. The second fuel air explosive shot was immediately followed by the second fuel air explosive. Those demon wolves were dizzy from the explosion. A single fuel air explosive shot out and turned all the demon wolves within 2 to 300 square meters into fireballs or shredded to pieces. In just 3 to 4 seconds, 7 fuel air explosive shots were fired from Xia Pinggan's hands. More than half of the demon wolf warriors in the village were killed. One demon wolf mage was killed, and another demon wolf mage was sent flying more than 10 meters away by the shockwave of the fuel air explosive. The demon wolf warrior's reaction was really fast. Before Xia Pinggan could fire the 8th fuel air explosive, those demon wolf warriors had already scattered. They roared and rushed towards Xia Pinggan. The demon wolf warriors also fired at Xia Pinggan with their weapons. Several flames instantly appeared beside Xia Pinggan and exploded beside Xia Pinggan, setting 2 old trees on fire. On the other hand, those demon wolf warriors close to Xia Pinggan directly slashed at Xia Pinggan with their swords and sabers. Xia Pinggan's figure was like a cheetah moving in the snow. Xia Pinggan put the fuel air explosive into the spatial warehouse, and the MR98 appeared in Xia Pinggan's hands. Xia Pinggan ran while dodging the flame bullets fired by those demon wolf warriors. At the same time, he used rune bullets to target those demon wolf warriors. The demon wolf warriors' physiques were very strong, but they weren't strong enough to dodge bullets, especially rune bullets. As long as they were hit by Xia Pinggan's rune bullets, the flame effect of the rune bullets would make the demon wolf warriors' bodies burn like a torch, detonating the horned gunpowder bottles on their bodies. Originally, the MR98 could only hold 6 bullets, but in Xia Pinggan's hands, the bullets inside seemed to be unplayable. After firing 6 bullets, he could actually continue firing. This was a skill that Xia Pinggan had practiced for a long time. After firing 6 bullets in the MR98 cylinder, he didn't need to remove the cartridge case. He directly used his consciousness to wrap the cartridge case in the cylinder and send it to the spatial warehouse. Then, he used the same method to load the bullets in the spatial warehouse into the gun. This way, the bullets in the MR98L seemed to be endless. Bang, bang, bang. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 demonic wolf warriors that were charging towards Xia Pinggan turned into fireballs and exploded. If the first 2 fuel air explosive explosions were not enough to let Yin Duo know who was helping him, then the unique gunshot of the MR98 at the back made Yin Duo immediately understand that it was Xia Pinggan. Among the people Yin Duo knew, Xia Pinggan was the only summoner in the entire Izhou province who used the MR98. As soon as Xia Pinggan appeared, the situation of the battle was suddenly reversed. Kill! Yin Duo no longer ran away. Instead, he turned around and waved his hand, summoning 5 fierce warriors in full armor. They charged towards the demon wolves behind him. The 2 of them, one in front and one behind, actually sandwiched the demon wolves in the middle. The warriors summoned by Yin Duo were much stronger than the elite slave soldiers. Their figures were agile, and they held long swords in their hands. Even compared to the demon wolf warriors, they weren't inferior at all. As soon as the 5 fierce warriors in armor appeared, they directly blocked the 5 demon wolf warriors. They fought with the 5 demon wolf warriors and even had the upper hand. Yin Duo also faced off against the red-haired magic wolf mage. The red-haired demon wolf mage roared and pointed his finger at Yin Duo. More than 10 black fog turned into wolf heads. They bared their fangs and shot towards Yin Duo like arrows. A circle of ice-blue water shield instantly appeared beside Yin Duo. The water shield shook, rumbled, and exploded. Yin Duo's face turned pale. He was directly blown away by the explosion of the water shield and fell heavily to the ground. A nearby demon wolf warrior rushed over to finish him off. A long sword appeared in Yin Duo's hand. He jumped up from the ground and pierced the demon wolf warrior with his sword. Then, he grabbed the demon wolf warrior's body and blocked a flame bullet. The demon wolf warrior's body burst into flames. Yin Duo threw him out and blocked a few flying icicles. Under the icicles, the burning demon wolf warrior's body was torn to pieces. This kind of battle was too fierce. There was not only the confrontation of cold weapons, but also the bombardment of hot weapons, as well as the fight of spells. Three kinds of fighting methods were rolling in. One side had just dealt with the Demon Wolf Warrior's long sword, and the other side had a deadly spell from the Demon Wolf Mage. Just as he dodged the spell, another bullet came. For a summoner, the slightest bit of carelessness in such an intense battle would result in instant death. Yin Duo had just gotten rid of a few Demon Wolf Warriors when he was blown away by the spells of the Demon Wolf Mage. He even had to roll on the ground to dodge. Yin Duo's figure was somewhat embarrassed as he dodged and counterattacked. He shouted at Xia Pingon, "Shit, hurry up and get rid of those bastards. Come with me and get rid of this red-haired Demon Wolf Mage." Just as he finished shouting, more than 10 snowmen crawled out of the pile of snow beside him. They spread their arms and rushed towards Yin Duo. Yin Duo gritted his teeth and waved his hand, summoning 7 or 8 slave soldiers. He had them fight the snowmen. On the other side, Xia Pingon used his MR98 to ignite a few more Demon Wolf warriors. Another Demon Wolf Mage was already rushing towards him. With a wave of his hand, dozens of icicles with wolf head-shaped black fog flew towards Xia Pingon from all directions. Chapter 140. The long whip of a black cobra appeared in Xia Pingon's hand. The long whip was like a black stream of water, carrying the wind and snow. Xia Pingon's long whip coiled around the 2 Demon Wolf warriors rushing towards him, blocking them in front of him like a shield. Puff, puff, puff. In an instant, the 2 Demon Wolf warriors were turned into hedgehogs by the icicles. The bloody icicles penetrated through the leather armors of the 2 demonic wolf warriors and came out of their backs. Xia Pingon then threw the 2 demonic wolf warriors towards the black smoke. After being hit by several wisps of black smoke, the 2 demonic wolf warriors' flesh and blood instantly dried up, turning into fine black ashes and scattering in the air. F***CK. This Demon Wolf Mage is really ferocious. Seeing that the Demon Wolf Mage was about to cast another spell, and that several other Demon Wolf warriors were rushing towards him, Xia Pingon shook the long whip in his hand, rolled up the big saber of a Demon Wolf warrior on the ground, and threw it towards the Demon Wolf Mage. The long saber broke through the air like an arrow, shooting straight towards the chest of the Demon Wolf Mage. The Demon Wolf Mage's spell was interrupted. He waved his hand, and the snow around him flew towards him, condensing into an ice and snow shield in front of him, blocking the flying saber thrown by Xia Pingon. Xia Pingon waved his hand, and 5 ferocious tigers and 10 elite slave soldiers appeared beside him. The 5 ferocious tigers roared and pounced towards the surrounding demonic wolf warriors. Among the 10 elite slave soldiers, 5 of them took out javelins and threw them towards the surrounding demonic wolf warriors, using javelins to interfere with the shooting of those demonic wolf warriors. The other 5 elite slave soldiers kept throwing their javelins at the Demon Wolf Mage in front of Xia Pingon and the Demon Wolf Mage fighting against Yin Duo. The javelins of the elite slave soldiers couldn't kill the Demon Wolf Mage, but the javelins could interrupt the spell-casting rhythm of the 2 Demon Wolf Mages, distracting them, dodging, and dealing with them, buying time for Xia Pingon and Yin Duo. The Demon Wolf Mage fighting against Xia Pingon angrily smashed a javelin and killed 2 elite slave soldiers with an icicle. Xia Pingon was like a tiger coming down from the mountain, rushing in front of the Demon Wolf Mage. The Demon Wolf Mage retreated, but found that Xia Pingon waved his hand, and a big net covered him. The Demon Wolf Mage's eyes flashed with a fierce glint, and he opened his mouth to spit out a ball of flame, burning the big net cast by Xia Pingon to ashes. At the same time, a black smoke arrow like a wolf head shot towards Xia Pingon. Xia Pingon summoned a water shield, blocking the black smoke. The Demon Wolf Mage was just about to cast another spell, when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his calf. He lowered his head and saw a big black dog running to his side at an unknown time, biting off a piece of bloody flesh from his calf. The Demon Wolf Mage was furious. He was a demon wolf and a Demon Wolf Mage, yet he was tricked by a dog. He shot an icicle from his hand, nailing the black dragon to the ground, causing it to turn into specks of light and dissipate. In that moment of delay, When the demon wolf mage was about to turn his head, he found that a long black whip had unknowingly arrived in front of him. The long black whip was like a black cobra, and the end of the long whip was like the tail of a black cobra. The long whip was shaking, and the potential energy on the whip was quickly transmitted from the front to the tip of the whip like a ripple. The speed of the tip of the whip was faster than what the demon wolf mage could see with the naked eye. Not good. Just as this thought popped up in Demon Wolf's mind, he wanted to make a move and cast a protective spell, but it was already too late. In that instant, the tip of the black cobra whip in Xia Pingan's hand had already broken through the sound barrier, and there was a violent explosion in the air at this moment, as if a gunshot had been fired. The sound of the explosion shook the whole place. The tip of the black cobra whip fiercely poured into the demon wolf mage's eye, directly entering his brain. As Xia Pingan's strength was transmitted, the demon wolf mage's head was like a watermelon that had been stuffed with firecrackers, exploding in an instant. Red and white brain matter spilled all over the ground. In the next second, Xia Pingan summoned a fireball and flew over to finish the job, directly turning the demon wolf mage into ashes, crushing the last trace of life in the demon wolf mage's body. A bead rolled out of the demon wolf mage's head. At this time, Xia Pingan didn't have time to look at it carefully, and the long whip coiled and swept the bead into the space warehouse. In the next second, Xia Pingan held the whip in one hand and the spear in the other, and rushed towards the demon wolf warriors. The sound of the long whip exploding could be heard from time to time, and every time there was a sonic boom, a demon wolf warrior's head would be pierced by the long whip, exploding and falling to the ground. If Xia Pingan was still in the 1 yuan realm, then killing these demon wolf warriors wouldn't be that easy. But now that he was in the 2nd yuan realm, he had an overwhelming advantage over these demon wolf warriors. As long as Xia Pingan got within 5 meters of them, the black cobra rope in Xia Pingan's hand would deal with those demon wolf warriors with one whip, not careless at all. And the spear in Xia Pingan's hand wasn't idle. The runic bullets fired from the muzzle either exploded the demon wolf warriors one by one, or shot towards the red-haired demon wolf mage. Just like the javelins thrown by the elite slave soldiers, they were constantly interfering with the casting of the red-haired demon wolf mage. This made the red-haired demon wolf mage unable to cope, and also gave Yin Duo a chance to catch his breath. As more and more demon wolf warriors were killed by Xia Pingan, the balance of the battlefield gradually tilted towards Xia Pingan and Yin Duo. The red-haired magic wolf mage also realized that something was wrong and wanted to escape, but he was immediately trapped by Yin Duo's circle prison. Yin Duo also began to go all out, summoning 5 fierce warriors in armor to join in the siege of the red-haired magic wolf mage. Xia Pingan also summoned 5 more slave soldiers to join the battlefield. The slave soldiers were running around the edge of the battlefield, continuously throwing javelins at the red-haired demon wolf mage. A spinning shield had already condensed around the red-haired demon wolf mage's body, blocking those attacks. But at the same time, he was trapped. The demon wolf warrior raised his gun a few dozen meters away, finally reloading it, and fired at Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan dodged and fired his MR-98, directly turning the demon wolf warrior into a torch. 3 more shots were fired, and another 3 demon wolf warriors were killed. As for the last demon wolf warrior, his head was pierced by Xia Pingan's whip. After killing the last demon wolf warrior, Xia Pingan turned around. The MR-98 in his hand disappeared, and a single fuel-air explosive appeared in Xia Pingan's hand. He directly fired it at the red-haired demon wolf mage. F***CK. Seeing the fuel-air explosive flying over, Yin Duo cursed and immediately retreated. The red-haired magic wolf mage trapped in the cage on the ground bellowed, and the ice shield around him immediately tripled, becoming several meters thick. Boom! The flames of the fuel-air explosive immediately surrounded the red-haired demon wolf mage, and a ball of hot flames rolled, instantly melting the snow within 30 to 40 meters. When the ball of flames disappeared, the ice shield around the red-haired demon wolf mage also disappeared, and the red-haired demon wolf mage was charred black and bleeding all over. He looked like a miner who had crawled out of a coal pit with thorns, and even the red hair on his head was almost burnt bald. The circle prison spell also dissipated amidst the flames and explosion of this single fuel air explosive. The red-haired demon wolf mage was just about to escape, but the yellow light under his feet appeared again. Yin Duo gritted his teeth and rushed over, once again trapping the red-haired demon wolf mage in a small circle of less than 10 square meters. And at the same time, Yin Duo's second circle prison spell appeared. Xiaoping's hand moved again and took out another set of single fuel air bombs. Under the gaze of the red-haired magic wolf magician, another set of fuel air bombs was shot out. After the second fuel air explosive exploded, the red-haired demon wolf mage was only left with a charred skeleton supporting him. But this skeleton waved his hand, and a few strands of black smoke flew out, turning the few armored fierce warriors summoned by Yin Duo into nothingness. Yin Duo once again trapping the red-haired demon wolf mage with a prison circle spell. Fuck, I don't believe I can't kill you. Blasting to death for me. Xiaoping's third fuel air explosive exploded. When the flames dissipated, the red-haired demon wolf mage's location was already a big hole in the ground, and that red-haired demon wolf mage had been completely turned into dregs, forcibly ground to death by Xiaoping and Yin Duo. Another realm pearl was left on the ground. Since Yin Duo was close to it, he immediately grabbed the realm pearl. Let's go. Those demon wolves are coming. Xiaoping roared at Yin Duo. The two didn't say anything and immediately ran, disappearing into the darkness in the blink of an eye. Chapter 141. Within the cave, the light of the fire grew from small to large. Beneath the summoner's fireball technique, the somewhat damp firewood began to dry up before finally combusting into flames. After a short while, a warm bonfire lit up the cave and warmed it up. This was a mountain range 70 kilometers away from the outskirts of New River City. In this world of ice and snow, this cave that was dozens of meters deep became a safe haven for two people. Xiaoping and Yin Duo sat near the bonfire. Their clothes and pants were a bit damp. In the light of the fire, they were steaming hot like steam buns that had just come out of the oven. Looking at the burning bonfire, Yin Duo felt a bit more comfortable. He let out a long breath of relief. Then he looked at Xiaoping, his eyes moving. You've also reached the second essence boundary. Just now, the two of them had been madly rushing over as fast as lightning. Yin Duo hadn't suppressed his own speed at all. As he discovered that Xiaoping was actually able to keep up with him, he couldn't help but be surprised. Yin Duo originally wanted to show off in front of Xiaoping, but he didn't think that Xiaoping wouldn't give him such a chance. Xiaoping calmly nodded. Damn, how long have you been a summoner, and you've already reached the second essence boundary? Yin Duo cursed. As he looked at Xiaoping, he didn't bother to hide the envy and jealousy in his eyes. Do you want me to live? Several months ago, I was at the first essence boundary, and you were still a rookie. How long has it been, and now you're at the second essence boundary? Did you raise those realm beads? How could you fuse with them so easily? Xiaoping spread out his hands. Oh, that's right, I forgot to tell you. I've also grasped the divine runes. Yin Duo's eyes widened. He gulped. You obtained the divine runic world beads? Where did you get such a precious realm bead? I killed a demon fire spider and got it. Yin Duo raised his head, speechless. He realized that in front of Xiaoping, not only could he not act like a big shot, but he was also gradually being pulled apart by Xiaoping. Damn, he used to be a rising star among the summoners in Izhou province. Why did he feel like a rookie in front of Xiaoping now? Just now, he was wondering how Xiaoping could take out one fuel air explosive launcher after another like magic. He thought that Xiaoping also had spatial equipment. He didn't expect Xiaoping to go one step further and open up a spatial warehouse in the secret mandala. It wasn't a secret to Yin Duo that a summoner who grasped the holy text could transform the secret mandala and have a space warehouse in it. You're also at the second Yuan realm. Not bad. Xiaoping smiled as he poked at the bonfire with some firewood. Screw off. I've been at the first Yuan realm for a long time. In the last several months, I've fused with a few more realm beads. What's so strange about me reaching the second Yuan realm? Yin Duo's eyes turned, and he stretched out a hand towards Xia Pingon. Didn't you grasp the divine runes? Give me several thousand rune bullets, so I can use them in a critical moment. That's right. Do you have any more fuel air explosive launchers that you shot at that red fur demon wolf mage? Give me some. You also have spatial equipment? You eat the meat, but you don't allow others to drink the soup. Yin Duo finally showed a hint of complacency. I've also fused with a spatial magic tool in my secret mandala. It's more than 1,000 cubic meters. How about it? Jealous? Hearing that Yin Duo had fused with a spatial magic tool in his secret mandala, Xia Pingon didn't say anything else. There were 3 types of spatial equipment for summoners. One was to transform the secret mandala with the divine runes like he did. Another was to fuse the secret mandala with the secret mandala like Yin Duo did. The third type was a spatial equipment that could be carried on the body. The first 2 types of spatial equipment that could be fused with the secret mandala were more advanced and couldn't be stolen by others. The last type was relatively low level and could even be lost. However, low level was only relative. It wasn't easy for most summoners to obtain a spatial equipment that could be carried on the body. As for the 1,000 cubic meters of spatial magic tool that Yin Duo mentioned, Xia Pingon chuckled inside. With a wave of his hand, Xia Pingon took out 5 individual fuel air explosive launchers and 20 individual fuel air explosive launchers and piled them up in the cave. Did you rob an armory? Why do you have so many individual fuel air explosive launchers? Yin Duo licked his lips and took those big guys away without saying anything else. More or less, these individual fuel air explosive launchers are indeed from the armory. By the way, what caliber bullets do you use? Anything is fine. Xia Pingon waved his hand and gave Yin Duo 30 sniper rifle rune bullets. Xia Pingon's rune bullets, other than the MR98 handgun he used, were mostly used on sniper rifles. That was because snipers were more efficient. Only 30, so stingy. You think it's too little? If you don't want it, then give it to me. Yin Duo curled his lips. As he saw Xia Pingon take away the rune bullets, he quickly smiled and grabbed the rune bullets, placing them into his own spatial equipment. What a joke. These rune bullets weren't much to him, but in front of an ordinary person, a single rune bullet could kill a demon spirit. These rune bullets were the most sought-after items. For Xia Pingon to give him 30 at once, that was already enough of a friend. To create these rune bullets required a great deal of supernatural force. Even if Xia Pingon was a divine runic master, he still wouldn't be able to create many at once. Didn't you just obtain a world bead? Take it out and let me have a look. Xia Pingon said to Yin Duo. He was quite curious about the world bead that Yin Duo had obtained. Yin Duo's face was blank. His eyes turned and he began to play dumb. World bead? Where's the world bead? You must be mistaken. Seeing Xia Pingon glare at him, Yin Duo dryly laughed. He patted Xia Pingon's shoulder and said, Don't be so stingy. Didn't you also obtain a world bead? The world bead that the red-furred demon wolf mage dropped is mine. You owe me money from before, so how about it? Forget it. It was only a world bead. Xia Pingon was too lazy to bother with him. All right, then I'll take that world bead as paying back the money I owe you. That's right. Why did you come back? Yin Duo talked about his past. Originally, he had brought a few summoners from the Yin Battalion to the Southern Light Continent to cooperate with the Fire Country's Drug Enforcement Administration. After arriving at the Southern Light Continent, he had split up with the summoners from the Yin Battalion. On the day of the Heavenly Tribulation, he had been at sea. His ship had sunk, and he had almost not made it back. Later, he had been stranded on a deserted island. He had survived alone on the deserted island for a few days. Finally, he had encountered the search and rescue aircraft from the Drug Enforcement Administration. He had just returned to the Western Desert Province by plane when the demonic spirit wave had erupted. Everything was in chaos. These days, he had traversed 2 provinces by himself and had finally returned to Izhou and Xinchuan. Of course, Yin Duo had also encountered some opportunities and had met some people. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to advance to the second realm. This time, I finally understand why some summoner clans can continue for thousands of years and still be so powerful. Moreover, they can produce powerful summoners for every generation. Yin Duo's expression had a rare trace of reverence. The inheritance of those summoner clans is unimaginable to outsiders. They even have some secret techniques to fuse world beads. Secret techniques to fuse world beads? Xiaopinggan was also surprised. This was the first time he had heard of this. Yin Duo's gaze deepened, and his face became solemn. It's a bit inaccurate to call it a secret technique. How should I put it? More accurately, it's experience. It's the experience of fusing world beads over thousands of years through the analysis of the life experiences of those who have succeeded or failed. In my opinion, it's almost the same as a secret technique. It's hard to get even with money. For example, before fusing with the Divine Fire Realm bead, we were all confused. After fusing with the Divine Fire Realm bead, we still don't know how to fuse with it. That's right. But did you know that some Summoner Clan's descendants had a success rate of fusing with the Divine Fire Realm bead as high as 90%? How did they do it? Xiaopinggan was also surprised. Were there other people who had been reborn in this world with memories like him? Because those Summoner Clans discovered that those who have independent and rich wilderness survival experience have a very high success rate when fusing with the Divine Fire Realm bead. Therefore, when they train their descendants from a young age, independent wilderness survival experience is a hurdle that the descendants of those Summoner Clans must pass. In addition, rich natural history and herbology knowledge can also greatly increase the success rate of fusing with the other two Foundation Establishment Realm beads. Some children of Summoner Clans will learn these things from a young age and receive special training. Therefore, their success rate of fusing with a realm bead and becoming a summoner is much, much higher than that of ordinary people. Xiaopinggan understood that this was indeed possible. As long as there were enough resources, it was indeed possible to make a professional analysis of the life experiences, knowledge structure, and even personality characteristics, psychological characteristics, and behavioral preferences of those who had successfully fused with certain realm beads or those who had failed. Through this analysis, one could slowly explore and summarize which kind of people had a higher success rate of fusing with certain realm beads and which kind of people were more likely to fail. Then, one could consciously cultivate and train the future generations to learn and master certain things. Little by little, one could correct and find the most correct and efficient path. This was like a blind man touching an elephant. One could piece together what each blind man had touched. Even if one couldn't see the elephant, one could still imagine some characteristics of the elephant. This was how those powerful Summoner Clans dealt with the mystery of the realm bead. This kind of thing could never be done by one person. It had to be summed up bit by bit through countless successes and failures of countless generations. How do you know all this? I save an old man who was also a summoner. He told me all these things. That old man also imparted many things to me. That old man was also from a Summoner Clan. His clan had mastered several efficient methods of fusing with realm beads. Sometimes Summoner Clans would even share their experiences of fusing realm beads through marriage or exchange, which became the secret inheritance of their clans. Chapter 142. After Yin Duo finished talking about his experiences during this period of time, he asked about Xiaopinggan's experiences. Xiaopinggan told him about what had happened in Xinchuan and Yizhou during this period of time, as well as the purpose of his visit to Xinchuan. The food shortage is definitely not only happening in Xinchuan and Yizhou. The longer it drags on, the greater the harm caused by the food shortage. The people above will not be able to see it, so it's best to take advantage of the window of time when the permanent spatial rifts disappear to restore order everywhere and eliminate those monsters, Yin Duo said while rubbing his chin. When you came back from outside Yizhou, are the permanent spatial rifts outside the province also disappearing? Xiaopinggan asked. Yes. Yin Duo nodded and said with a serious expression, I've seen the scene of the permanent spatial rifts disappearing twice before, and it was indeed shocking. Perhaps there really are gods and wills beyond our imagination in this world. Otherwise, the golden tree shadows and human figures that appeared in the disappearing spatial rifts can't be explained at all. It can't be a natural phenomenon. Yes, compared to this mysterious universe, our current strength is still too insignificant. Thinking of the scene of the spatial rifts disappearing, Xiaopingan still felt shocked. If there was a transcendent being's will that closed the spatial rifts, did that mean that all the previous spatial invasions came from the will of another transcendent being? Xiaopingan suddenly thought of the demon lord that the members of the demon eyes worshipped. In the past, he felt that the so-called demon lord should be a totem idol or the embodiment of some ideal belief that the demon eyes worshipped. However, after seeing the spatial rifts being sealed with his own eyes, Xiaopingan's idea was shaken. The monsters had come to this world, but the realm beads had also been planted on them, giving the people of this world the power to resist them. The demon lord brought the spatial invasions, and another transcendent being that was on par with the demon lord was preventing the spatial invasions. The two sides were entangled in a contest. Was the so-called spatial invasions the continuation of the war between gods and demons in this world? This conclusion was absurd, but it was the logical explanation that Xiaopingan could deduce in his heart. Don't be too emotional. This is a good thing. Maybe if we hold on for a few more days, the situation in the country of Great Yin will change. Once there are no more spatial rifts, the summoners will be able to recover. Those invading demonic creatures won't be able to hold on for long. On my way back, I saw that some summoners had already regrouped with their troops and started to encircle those demonic creatures. So fast, some summoner families have stockpiled a lot of rune bullets before. The troops are most afraid of demonic spirits. Once the troops have rune bullets to restrain the demonic spirits, like the red-haired demonic wolf mage we met today, he might be killed by heavy artillery. When I was in Donghu province, I saw that some summoner families have begun to take control of the local situation. They gathered troops and personnel, issued rune bullets to the troops, and have already recovered some small cities. Yinduo said, licking his lips, his eyes sparkling. Now is the time for us to show our skills and make a name for ourselves. If the two of us can kill most of these monsters in Xinchuan City, when the country is recovered, we will all be heroes of the country. The two of us can join forces in Xinchuan and do a good job together. How about it? Now that you mention it, it's a bit interesting. Xiaopingan thought about it and was greatly moved. His goal was the granary, but with the current situation in Xinchuan, it would be difficult for him to get close to the granary if he didn't kill a group of demonic wolves. Moreover, demonic wolves and demonic rats were different from spiders. If a demonic wolf mage were to discover the granary, he would have the ability to enter the granary and destroy it. Therefore, he couldn't let those demonic wolves be idle. He had to take the initiative to attack and make those demonic wolves move. It would be best if he could lure them out of Xinchuan and kill as many as possible. What do you mean by a little interesting? That's how it is. Didn't those nobles, generals, and ministers in history seize the opportunity to rise to power? Aren't you afraid? The spatial creatures invading everywhere are all low-level creatures. I have never heard of any high-level demonic creatures invading. Both of us are in the second realm. Even if we can't defeat them, escaping won't be a problem. Xiaopingan's eyes moved. Speaking of escaping, I have an idea. If it succeeds, we can easily eliminate a large number of demonic wolves and demonic rats. We can also easily obtain a lot of realm pearls. What idea? Yinduo asked with interest. I have a lot of powerful fuel air bombs, thermobaric bombs, thermite bombs, and so on. What do you think? If we can find a place to set up a trap and lure those demonic wolves and demonic rats into the trap, then we can detonate the bombs in the trap. We should be able to easily wipe out a large number of demonic beasts. The power of airdropped thermobaric bombs and fuel air bombs are not comparable to that of individual fuel air bombs. Yinduo suddenly became excited and rubbed his hands. How many of those big guys do you have now? Tens of thousands of tons. Blowing up half of Xinchuan City shouldn't be a problem. Yinduo was shocked. Damn, how big is your spatial warehouse? Can you store so much? Hee, as long as it's enough. This idea is definitely feasible. Let's properly plan it out. Let's do a big job in Xinchuan City. The two of them began to seriously discuss, such as where to best ambush, what method to use to lure those demonic creatures, and so on. This discussion lasted for more than an hour. The two of them discussed and decided to wait until tomorrow to take action. They would first find a place to set up a bomb trap, and then lure the demonic beasts. The two of them had the curse mark of the demonic wolf clan on them. If they wanted to lure the demonic beasts, there were many ways to do so without appearing too deliberate. When the discussion was about done, Xiao Pingon took out the realm pearl he obtained today and looked at it. That realm pearl flashed with a layer of faint white light. Inside the white light, for divine runes were faintly discernible, waiting for rabbits. What a coincidence! The two of them were just discussing how to set up a trap, and now the realm pearl in their hands was actually this. Ah, this is the realm pearl you obtained. Yin Duo glanced at the divine runes on the realm pearl in Xia Pingon's hand and shook his head in disappointment. This is a black box realm pearl. I've never heard of anyone fusing with this realm pearl. However, I've never heard of anyone dying while fusing with this realm pearl. This realm pearl isn't very dangerous. You can try it here. I'll protect you. It shouldn't take long. Xiao Pingon didn't explain and directly nodded. He turned the ring on his finger, pricked his finger, and dripped 2 drops of blood onto the realm pearl. In just a moment, Xiao Pingon's body was surrounded by a pure white cocoon of light. Xiao Pingon opened his eyes and found himself holding a hoe and digging in the field. He was wearing a short shirt made of coarse hemp. There were more than 20 mu of land in front of him, and an old tree stump was left on the ground. When Xiao Pingon was looking at the old tree stump, a rabbit suddenly darted out of the grasses in the distance and hit the tree stump. After kicking its legs, it died. Xiao Pingon revealed a smile. Just as I expected. The reason why others couldn't fuse with this realm pearl successfully was that those who came in here had already gone to do various things. They would never think that they only needed to guard this old tree stump. This should be the easiest realm pearl to fuse with. Inside the cave, Yin Duo saw that Xiao Pingon was fusing with the realm pearl and was enveloped by the light cocoon. Only then did he sneakily take out the realm pearl and take a look. There were some divine runes on the realm pearl, Su Dao, Lu Shippelding. Yin Duo didn't recognize the divine runes on the realm pearl. However, he knew that this realm pearl was a rare item for summoning a realm pearl. If he fused with this realm pearl, he could summon a ship at a critical moment. This realm pearl was very rare and couldn't be found easily. He had taken a look at it before. Therefore, he generously used this realm pearl to cancel Xiao Pingon's debt. When Yin Duo touched the realm pearl, the cocoon of light on Xiao Pingon shattered in a few minutes. Yin Duo hurriedly put away the realm pearl in his hand. Cough, cough. It doesn't matter even if you failed. Yin Duo comforted him. I should have succeeded. Xiao Pingon touched his nose and smiled. What? Yin Duo thought he heard wrong. Succeeded? You said you fused with that black box realm pearl? Yes, I got 10 points of divine power and a small spell. What spell? Do you want to eat fresh roasted meat? Yes, do you have it? Wait a minute. As Xiao Pingon spoke, he closed his eyes for a moment. Suddenly, he pointed at a rock not far away from them. A yellow dot of light flew out from Xiao Pingon's finger and entered the rock. That's it. Yin Duo blinked. Where's the meat? Wait a minute. The two waited patiently for 5 or 6 minutes. Just when Yin Duo was about to lose his patience and thought that Xiao Pingon was joking with him, there was a sudden movement outside the cave. A shadow flashed and a pheasant rushed in. It hit the rock head-on and fell to the ground. Half a minute later, another gray rabbit rushed in and slammed its head into the rock. Looking at the two prey that rushed into the cave and hit the rock head, Yin Duo was dumbfounded. This is the spell? Yes, this is a small spell for hunting. It consumes at least 1 point of divine power and can attract some prey in the surroundings. With such a spell, wouldn't we never have to worry about starving? Yin Duo was incomparably envious. The practicality of such a spell was too strong. If one wanted to catch any prey, the prey would run over on its own. Just now, he felt that the summoning bead he obtained was not bad. However, compared to the spell in front of Xiaoping's eyes, that bead didn't seem as good. Xiaoping was too abnormal. No wonder he had advanced to the second elemental realm in such a short time. This should be the second black box realm pearl he had fused with. Yin Duo had never seen a summoner fuse with a realm pearl so easily. Yin Duo was already seriously considering whether to hug Xiaoping's thigh. Xiaoping's future achievements would definitely be amazing. Chapter 143. Looking down from the sky, the scene of Yin Duo luring the monsters was quite spectacular. Yin Duo only stayed in the southwest outskirts of Xinchuan City for 2 hours before a large number of demon wolves came. Just like the previous times, Yin Duo threw out a few single fuel air bombs at the charging demonic wolves. After killing dozens of demonic wolf warriors, he seized the opportunity to chop off the heads of 2 demonic wolf warriors and a demonic wolf sorcerer. He hung the bloody heads of the demonic wolf warriors and the demonic wolf sorcerer on his waist and circled around the outskirts of the city as if he was showing off. The demonic wolves went crazy after seeing this. Almost all the nearby demon wolves were attracted by Yin Duo. There were no less than 700 to 800 of them. Then, Yin Duo began to run for his life. However, even when he was running for his life, Yin Duo didn't leave them in the dust. Instead, he ran in a place where the demon wolves could see him, maintaining a distance of 300 to 500 meters. Every time he ran, he would stop, turn around, and take out a single fuel air bomb and shoot it at the demon wolves chasing behind him. After doing this a few times, the demon wolves chasing Yin Duo began to become manic and furious. Their eyes turned red, as if they were filled with blood. The demon wolf mages' icicles and black fog were like raindrops shooting at Yin Duo. Yin Duo made a water shield behind him. Then, like a cheetah, he ran through the mountain forest where the snow had just melted. He constantly dodged the attacks behind him. From time to time, he would laugh twice and continue to provoke the pursuers behind him. "Trash, you think you can hurt me with this little trick? From now on, I will wear a wolf fur coat, use wolf fur to make leather shoes and pants, eat wolf meat, and drink wolf blood. You can eat my fart," the demon wolves howled. The demon wolf mage's intelligence was higher and could understand Yin Duo's words. Therefore, they were even angrier. In this kind of pursuit, after more than 2 hours, Yin Duo finally led the pursuers behind him to the valley where Xiaoping had laid down the killing array. It had to be said that these demon wolves really did have the tenacity and stamina of a wolf. When they bit down on their prey, the demon wolves firmly latched onto Yin Duo. They were like plasters that couldn't be shaken off. Xiaoping was lying in ambush here, hiding in a hole in the forest near the entrance of the valley. He held a detonator in his hand and used his remote vision ability to observe the scene in the valley. The demon wolves surged into the valley and entered the ambush position. Yin Duo, who was running in front, suddenly sped up and pulled apart the distance between him and the demon wolves. Furthermore, he jumped into a large hole in the valley that he had prepared long ago to hide in. Xiaoping immediately pressed the detonator. A series of heavy thermobaric bombs and thermite bombs exploded in the ground where the demonic wolves passed by. The entire ground shook, and the valley that was originally covered with a thin layer of snow instantly turned into a fiery hell. The thermobaric bombs, which weighed several tons, were much more powerful than individual fuel air explosive bombs. The moment the thermobaric bombs exploded, the shock wave in the valley formed a white mushroom-shaped canopy. After the thermite bombs were detonated, the temperature in the valley was almost 3,000 degrees Celsius, which could even melt stones. Under the attack of this kind of weapon, any demon wolf or mage would be turned into dregs. It was simply impossible to resist. Xiaoping saw countless demon wolves being torn apart in the explosion and completely engulfed by the rolling flames. However, not all of the demonic wolves were engulfed by the flames and explosions in the valley. Hundreds of demonic wolves at the back of the team were outside the range of the explosion. They were lucky enough to escape the effects of the explosion. However, They were all dizzy, swayed from side to side, and were injured by the tremors. Some demon wolves' eyeballs were shaken out, while others were bleeding from their mouths, noses, and ears. Of course, Xiao Pingan would not let these demon wolves escape. As soon as the shock wave of the explosion swept over and the ground was still shaking, Xiao Pingan had already rushed out towards the demon wolves at the back of the team. 5 ferocious tigers and 5 elite slave soldiers were instantly summoned by Xiao Pingan. Among the demon wolves, there was a demon wolf mage. The demon wolf mage's ears were bleeding from the shock wave, and one of his arms was broken by a flying stone. His whole body was swaying from side to side, and he had yet to fully recover from the aftermath of the explosion. Then, he saw a summoned tiger pouncing on his side. That demon wolf mage roared and waved his hand. More than 10 icicles instantly pierced through that tiger, causing it to dissipate. Some icicles even flew towards Xiao Pingan. But that tiger was only a bait. The moment the tiger dissipated, a mini Su Onwu flashed out from behind the tiger. Sticking close to the ground, Su Onwu instantly flew to the side of that demon wolf mage and tenderly bit his leg. That demon wolf mage's body instantly stiffened, and the radiance of life in his eyes dimmed. An elite slave soldier threw a javelin from afar, and the magic wolf mage's body shattered like a fragile piece of porcelain. After getting rid of the last magic wolf mage, the rest was easy. Xiao Pingan didn't even waste his rune bullets. Instead, he took out a long saber and rushed towards those injured demon wolf warriors. A few minutes later, the head of the last demon wolf warrior was chopped off by Xiao Pingan. The demon wolf warrior's blood sprayed in the muddy valley, and his body fell down with a thud. Xiao Pingan started to collect the corpses of these demon wolf warriors. The corpses of these demon wolf warriors were also good materials. One demon wolf warrior's corpse could be refined into 10 body form pills and 1 level 1 Shunli Dan. A few minutes later, Yin Duo rushed out of the valley with a dusty face and a bloody sword in his hand. He looked like a groundhog that had just drilled out of the ground. After the explosion, Yin Duo was responsible for dealing with the demon wolves in the front, while Xiao Pingan was responsible for dealing with the demon wolves in the back. The two of them made a perfect pincer attack and didn't let a single one escape. You've dealt with them? Yes. I still have more than 30 demon wolf corpses. Don't waste them. They're all pills. Unconsciously, Yin Duo had a smile on his face when he was talking to Xiao Pingan, and his tone had also become flattering. When he found out that Xiao Pingan could produce Shunli Dan continuously from the secret mandala, Yin Duo's little bit of pride and reserve had already been thrown out of the window. What face, what status, what was more useful than an endless supply of Shunli Dan? This thigh of Xiao Pingan, Yin Duo? No, it should be Xiao Pingan's friend. Yin Duo, was determined to befriend Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan was also very nimble. He quickly rushed to the front of the valley and collected the corpses of the demon wolves that had been killed by Yin Duo. Yin Duo was still somewhat crafty. He had already checked the heads of the corpses and didn't find any realm pearls. This was also a tacit understanding between the two of them. The realm pearls of the demon wolves that they killed each belonged to them, and the realm pearls of the demon wolves that were killed by the bombs would be divided equally between the two of them. Xiao Pingan summoned the Black Dragon. It was faster to use the Black Dragon to find the realm pearls in the valley. The ground in the valley was still hot, and smoke was rising. The demon wolves that had just chased them into the valley had already been turned into dregs in the explosion and flames. Those that hadn't turned into dregs were burned like burnt dough. They were charred black and would shatter at the slightest touch. Those demon wolves aren't easy to trick anymore. There aren't many this time, but I think it won't be so easy next time. Yin Duo shook his head. This ambush was already the 4th in the past month. The most glorious result was the first time. That time, they had lured over thousands of demonic wolves and demonic rats. After that time, although the two of them changed places to set up ambushes and used all kinds of methods to lure the monsters, the number of demonic wolves chasing after them decreased. The Black Dragon soon found a realm pearl. It was a realm pearl of the god Altar. The second realm pearl was also found. It was a realm pearl of the god The third realm pearl was also found. It was a realm pearl of the slave soldier. The fourth realm pearl was a realm pearl of the divine fire realm. The fifth realm pearl was also a realm pearl of the divine fire realm. The sixth realm pearl was a realm pearl used to summon horses. Xiao Pingan had seen it before, buying horse bones with 1,000 taels of gold. The seventh lesson, the realm pearl, finally made Xiao Pingan's spirits rise a little. A few words flashed on the realm pearl, prison drawn. Xiao Pingan had been coveting this realm pearl for a very long time. The eighth realm pearl was a realm pearl of the slave soldier. After several ambushes, Xiao Pingan discovered that the ratio of realm pearls to foundation establishment realm pearls that dropped from the demon wolves was far too high. Besides the foundation establishment realm pearls, the other realm pearls were very basic realm pearls, such as realm pearls of the slave soldier, realm pearls of the net, water realm pearls, and so on. The chances of these realm pearls appearing were also very high. As for the other realm pearls, they were ordinary divine force realm pearls. At this time, Xiao Pingan discovered just how lucky he had been to obtain the first divine runic realm pearl. The two of them quickly divided up the realm pearls. Xiao Pingan took the prison by drawing a circle pearl, and Yin Duo took the buying horse bones with 1,000 taels of gold. As for the other realm pearls, each of them had 3 realm pearls. I've used up too much of my divine force this time. Yin Duo deliberately complained to Xiao Pingan. On the way here, in order to avoid the attacks of those demon wolf mages, I've used my water shield more than a dozen times. I won't be able to hold on much longer. Xiao Pingan didn't bother with any nonsense. He tossed a bottle of first-level Shunli Dan to Yin Duo. There were a total of 10 Shunli Dan pills in the bottle. Yin Duo beamed with joy as he received the pills. Cooperating with Xiao Pingan was truly a pleasure. Just as Yin Duo was about to say something, his complexion suddenly changed. He turned his head and looked towards the western skies. Xiao Pingan also discovered this. He also turned his head towards the western skies. A faint rumbling sound spread out from the skies. Under the gazes of the two people, a plane cut through the horizon with a white line as it flew towards them from the west. Soon, it passed through the skies of New Creek City. That's a high-altitude military reconnaissance plane. They're deliberately letting people see them. Yin Duo's mind shook, and he nearly jumped up. Xiao Pingan also tightly clenched his fists. They were finally here. The two of them glanced at each other, both able to see the excitement in the other's eyes. Let's return to Cloud Bay Mountain Base first, Xiao Pingan said. Yin Duo nodded solemnly. Chapter 2, Night Update. Chapter 144. Who is it? Stop right there. When Xiao Pingan and Yin Duo appeared outside the valley entrance of Cloud Bay Mountain Base, they were still more than 100 meters away from the entrance. The soldiers of the 87th Regiment guarding the valley entrance immediately shouted with their megaphones. The sound of the megaphone reverberated between the surrounding cliffs and precipitous cliffs. Along with this sound, many people in the surrounding positions could faintly be seen aiming their guns at Xiao Pingan and Yin Duo. The vigilance of the people here is pretty good. Yin Duo smiled and muttered. The two of them had said yesterday that they were going to return to Cloud Bay Mountain Base. At noon today, the two of them had already appeared outside the base. As for food, Xiao Pingan had already swept through Xinchuan's grain depot 2 weeks ago and obtained more than 50,000 tons of food. The two of them were wearing snow camouflage uniforms and cold hats that covered half of their faces. Therefore, the soldiers guarding the entrance didn't recognize Xiao Pingan. It's me, Xiao Pingan said calmly as he took off his hat and revealed his face. It's Summer Priest. Summer Priest is back. Summer Priest is back. Hurry up and open the entrance. The soldiers stationed at the entrance of the valley were so happy that they shouted. Along with the black smoke coming out of the bulldozers, the 2 bulldozers that sealed the entrance of the valley were opened. The moment Xiao Pingan returned, the news instantly spread throughout the base. Especially when Xiao Pingan took out a lot of food in public, the dark clouds that had shrouded the entire Cloud Bay Mountain Base during this period of time completely dissipated and was swept away. The atmosphere in the base began to rise. Because the snow had gradually melted and the temperature had risen, traces of demon rats and a small number of demon wolves could be seen in the wild. Tupolu and many other summoners had led the special forces out to hunt 2 days ago and hadn't returned yet. Xiao Pingan, who had just returned, didn't have time to drink a mouthful of hot water before Guowei and a large group of officers from the base arrived. Guowei placed a radio in front of Xiao Pingan and Yin Duo. He turned on the radio and tuned it to a certain frequency. A large group of people held their breaths and waited quietly in Xiao Pingan's room in the barracks. "What's going on?" Xiao Pingan asked. Guowei looked at his watch. "If you didn't come back, we would have sent people to Xinchuan to look for you. There's news from the Capital Bay Area. You'll know in 2 minutes." Hearing the news from the Capital Bay Area that had been silent for a few months, Xiao Pingan immediately perked up. 2 minutes later, the radio rang. After the passionate national anthem of the Great Fire Country ended, a steady baritone appeared on the radio. "All the citizens of the Great Yin Republic, all the soldiers, all the summoners, all the warriors who are still fighting, and all the people who are strong and alive in the disaster. Hello, I'm Li Chongyang. My previous identity was the chairman of the Great Yin Republic's National Committee of Order and the vice chairman of the Great Yin Republic's Military Management Committee. Our president was unfortunately killed on the morning of October 28, 2019 on the way back to the Capital Bay Area on Air Force One. The chairman of the Great Yin Republic's Military Management Committee, General Lin Chure, was unfortunately killed on October 29, 2019. According to the Constitution of the Great Yin Republic and the Great Yin Republic's Presidential Succession Act, I have officially been elected as the president of the Great Yin Republic and the chairman of the Military Management Committee of the Great Yin Republic on January 18, 2020. In the past few months, just like other countries in the world, we suffered an unprecedented catastrophe. Our cities were occupied by those monsters. Our armies were defeated by those monsters, and we lost our homes, friends, and loved ones. Every one of us has experienced unforgettable pain and suffering. The pain and suffering took away many people around us, but also made those who survived stronger and more fearless. We didn't fail. We were only ambushed by those monsters. It was a despicable ambush. They caught us off guard and caused us to suffer heavy losses, but we didn't fail. Our soldiers are still here, our fleet is still here, and our summoners are still here. We have millions of well-trained soldiers and tens of millions of reserve soldiers. We have the world's most powerful Navy and Air Force. Our summoners didn't suffer heavy losses, and they can still fight those invading creatures head-on. We also have secret backup bases, and we have contingency plans and preparations for the worst-case scenario. Therefore, we didn't fail. We only experienced a period of chaos and huge losses, but we didn't fail. The main forces of our Pacific First Fleet and Second Fleet have returned to the Capital Bay Area. The Fourth Fleet, Ninth Fleet, and Eighth Fleet have appeared on our west coast. The summoners of the Demon Suppression Headquarters of the Committee of Order have gathered in the Capital Bay Area. The permanent space rifts near the Capital Bay Area have disappeared, and order in the Capital Bay Area is being restored. The legions are regrouping, and the monsters are being eliminated. We are a nation blessed by God. Humans will not disappear, and we will not perish. In the next 2 weeks, all the permanent space rifts around the world will disappear, and in the next 18 years, there will be no space invasions of any level on this planet. Don't doubt my words. Time will tell if I'm right. In this universe, the forces of darkness and evil can run rampant for a while, but the forces of justice and light will never die. They will appear when we need them the most. The time has come for us to fight back and take back our home. The time has come for us to eliminate those monsters. The order of the Great Yin Republic is slowly being restored from the capital's Bay Area. The nation's heart will start beating again, and the brain will start working again. Our legions and summoners are slowly advancing from the capital's Bay Area to the surrounding provinces and cities. The order of the villages, towns, and cities is being restored. We have activated the War Reserve. In all the places where order has been restored, we are distributing food, arranging production, and reorganizing the legions and combat teams. Our strength is being restored and strengthened bit by bit, while the monsters are weakening bit by bit. Victory will be ours. Now, as the President of the Great Yin Republic and the Chairman of the Military Management Committee, I hereby order every warrior and summoner in the Fire Country to pick up your weapons, assemble, and prepare for battle. We will be here soon and will contact you soon. I assure you that we will eliminate those monsters, reclaim our cities, take back our homes, and avenge our loved ones and friends who have passed away. In view of the current chaotic situation in the provinces, I will reappoint the chairman of the Military Management Committee of some provinces. These newly appointed chairmen will arrive at the provinces as soon as possible to restore order in the provinces. The chairman of the Military Management Committee of Ning and Province, the chairman of the Military Management Committee of Xinhua Province, Wenzai, the chairman of the Military Management Committee of Jinshan Province, Zhang Qiaoyin, the chairman of the Military Management Committee of Haizhou Province, Dong Fangdiu. One name after another came from the radio. The room was silent. Xiao Pinggan listened attentively for fear of missing a word. Finally, after reading the names of more than 20 provinces, Xiao Pinggan heard a sentence from the radio. The chairman of the Military Management Committee of Yizhou Province, Wang Sha, the old man, is still here. He has become the chairman of the Military Management Committee of Yizhou Province. He will be back soon. A few minutes later, the voice from the radio finally stopped. Guowei turned off the radio and looked at Xiao Pinggan. 5 days ago, this channel received this broadcast. This broadcast repeats every 10 minutes. 3 days ago, we used the radio in the base to contact the First Fleet in the Capital Bay Area. The order in the Capital Bay Area is indeed being restored. The Sky Phoenix Air Force Base and Gourd Mountain Air Force Base in the Capital Bay Area have been reactivated. Chapter 145. The group of officers in the room all looked at Xiao Pinggan. Unknowingly, although Xiao Pinggan did not hold any power, he had already become the soul of the base. Xiao Pinggan and Yin Duo looked at each other. Both of them were very surprised by the announcement made by the new president of the Great Yin Republic through the radio. How could this president be so sure that the permanent spatial rifts all over the world would disappear in the next few days, and that there would not be any spatial invasions of any level on this planet for the next 18 years? This kind of judgment was not something that could be made just by opening his mouth. If there were still spatial rifts in some places that did not disappear in the next few days, or spatial invasions in the next 18 years, the president would have to bear the responsibility for what he had just said. A person who had just come to power would definitely not dare to say something like this without full confidence. Yin Duo frowned slightly and thought for a while before saying, Li Chongyang used to be the chairman of the Committee of Order. He had always been very low-key, so low-key that many people did not know that he was a powerful summoner. Now that our great fire country has a summoner president, this is very interesting. In any case, if the order in the capital can be restored, this is definitely a good thing. This announcement came at the right time, and its effect is comparable to that of 10 legions. Xiao Pinggan also said, just now, the radio said that the permanent spatial rifts all over the world would disappear. I wonder if the spatial rifts in Xinchuan City are still there? Guowei asked the question that all the officers were most concerned about. The permanent spatial rifts in Xinchuan City have disappeared. I saw it with my own eyes. Xiao Pinggan replied. The group of officers looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with excitement. We have actually been in contact with Xianghe City these days. The situation in Xianghe City is improving. The Demon Suppression Guard stationed in Xianghe City have already gathered a force of more than 2,000 people and completely controlled the suburbs of Xianghe City. The demons in Xianghe City have been suppressed to a few areas in the city. Colonel Wang Chung said. What are your opinions? Xiao Pinggan asked. After suffering for a few months, we brothers want to move. That's right. That's right. These days, our brothers have all heard about the broadcast. Everyone is very excited and eager to fight those monsters again to avenge our brothers who have sacrificed their lives. In addition to the troops, The base's militia is also eager to fight. They want to move around, a few officers said. Then let's move. Xiao Pingan's eyes suddenly sharpened as he said resolutely, "You guys get ready. I'll take you to Xianghe and rendezvous with the troops and demon suppression guards gathered at Xianghe. We'll reclaim Xianghe first. After reclaiming Xianghe, we can use Xianghe as our base and unite with Yunwan Mountain Base to gather more forces and gradually reclaim Xingchuan." All the officers stood up at once and saluted Xiao Pingan as they replied loudly, "Yes, sir." The officers left. Of the officers were the only officers. "Everyone is waiting for you to say that." Guowei smiled and said to Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan also smiled. "I can see that too. You all should have made a plan long ago, right?" "Yes, the plan has been made long ago. But if you don't agree, everyone will feel uneasy." "What's the plan?" "We will leave a battalion and a small number of summoners in Yunwan Mountain Base to coordinate with the militia. We will first take down Matai Town outside the mountain. Matai Town is a crucial place. There are 3 uses for taking down Matai Town. Firstly, Matai Town can be used as a bridgehead to protect the safety of the base. Secondly, after taking down Matai Town, we can cut off the connection between the monsters in the Xianchuan direction and Xianghe City. Thirdly, Matai Town can monitor the movements in the Xianchuan direction. After taking Matai Town, we will leave 2 battalions and a team of summoners in Matai Town. The main force of the troops will move to Xianghe City. If there is a large-scale movement in Xinchuan City and Matai Town cannot be defended, the troops and summoners in Matai Town can retreat to Yunwan Mountain Base. Our troops can also go back to reinforce. If everything in Xinchuan City is normal during the time we reclaim Xianghe City, Matai Town can become a forward base for the troops to reclaim Xianghe City." Guowei was a staff officer, and the Yunwan Mountain Base did not lack professional staff officers. Therefore, the military had already considered all aspects of the operation plan. Xiao Pingan could not find any fault with it. Xiao Pingan had passed by Matai Town more than once. That place was over 100 kilometers away from Xinchuan City and over 200 kilometers away from Xianghe City. It was a traffic hub. After Guowei left, Yin Duo stood up with a yawn. "Well, call me when it's time to set off. I'm so tired after a night's journey. I'm going to take a nap before fusing the realm bead." The death rate of fusing the realm bead to summon horses is very low, but the success rate is not high either. I wonder if I can fuse it successfully this time. Xiao Pingan stroked his chin before suddenly saying, "I had a strange dream 2 days ago. It's about horses. Do you want to hear it?" "What did you dream about?" Yin Duo, who was about to leave, stopped as he couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. "In the dream, a king gave me a lot of money and asked me to buy a fine steed. However, fine steeds are not easy to find. Since I couldn't complete the king's task, I thought of a way. I bought some horse bones with a lot of money and brought them to the king. I told the king that these bones belonged to fine steeds." Yin Duo burst out into laughter. "You tricked the king and embezzled the money to buy fine steeds. Didn't the king chop off your head in your dream?" "I didn't chop it off. Later on, this matter spread out. Everyone knew that I spent a lot of money to buy the bones of some fine steeds and presented them to the king. When those who had fine steeds heard about it, they sent the fine steeds over from afar. My task was also completed. The king even rewarded me heavily." Yin Duo became stunned as he stroked the stubble on his chin. "It's a good idea to advertise with the bones of fine steeds." After saying that, Yin Duo left. When he reached the door, he couldn't help but recall the dream that Xiao Pingan had just told him. He muttered, "Interesting." As for Yin Duo, Xiao Pingan wasn't worried. Because of the mystery of the boundary, even if Yin Duo succeeded in fusing, he wouldn't be able to remember what had happened in the boundary pearl. The guy would probably think that he was gifted or lucky. After Yin Duo left, Xiao Pingan also took out his boundary pearl of prison of circle. In just a few minutes, the light cocoon appeared and disappeared on Xiao Pingan's body. Xiao Pingan woke up and fused perfectly again. In addition to this boundary pearl of prison of a circle, as well as a few divinity boundary pearls and other boundary pearls that had been fused during this period of time. The upper limit of divinity in Xia Pinggan's secret mandala had reached 585 points. He wasn't far from the third realm. Moreover, in Xia Pinggan's shrine, there was already a granite relief of buying horse bones with 1,000 pieces of fine steeds. There was a splendid steed on the relief. Xia Pinggan had obtained the boundary pearl of buying horse bones with 1,000 pieces of fine steeds a few days ago. One day later, in the respectful farewell of tens of thousands of people in Yunwan Mountain Base, Xia Pinggan led a group of summoners, a team of more than 3,000 people, and hundreds of military trucks loaded with supplies, and drove out of the entrance of the valley of Yunwan Mountain Base. The snow was melting, and the wheels of the trucks made the road muddy. As expected, Yenduo's boundary pearl of buying horse bones with 1,000 pieces of fine steeds was successfully fused. When everyone left the valley, Yenduo summoned a tall red steed and rode on the steed to leave with the troops. The battle to reclaim Ma Tai town took less than 20 minutes. Xia Pinggan, Yenduo, Tupelu, and a group of summoners each led a few teams of warriors into Ma Tai town. More than 10 large spiders and dozens of demon rats entrenched in and around Ma Tai town were quickly killed and turned into ingredients for Xia Pinggan's elixir. The troops stayed in Ma Tai town for a day and built various defensive fortifications in the town. The summoners cleaned up the ground and wilderness around the town and killed all the demons that they encountered. Yenduo liked to cause trouble and was not weak. Therefore, he stayed in Ma Tai town with a few summoners. Xia Pinggan led a team of more than 2,000 people, hundreds of military vehicles, and dozens of summoners back to Xianghe in 2 days. After being separated from Mo Yin Xiao and the others for such a long time, a group of summoners from Xianghe City's Committee of Order reunited in Xianghe City. Chapter 146. Rain started to fall from the sky, covering the entire Xianghe City in a layer of misty rain. The smell of gunpowder and explosives mixed in the misty rain made the city seem less peaceful in the beginning of spring. There was no thunder in the sky, but the sound of rockets exploding in various parts of the city was like spring thunder, shaking everyone's nerves. Rumble, the roar of the tank, resounded in the familiar neighborhood. On the street, there was a burnout Volkswagen sedan that was directly hit by the tank that drove into the street and was crushed into pieces of metal. Xia Pinggan stood on top of the tank's turret, allowing the cold rain to splash on his face. He squinted his eyes and looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar street in front of him. His long-range vision covered the surrounding streets. At this moment, Xianghe City was somewhat unfamiliar to Xia Pinggan. Even though he had lived in this city for many years and was familiar with every street and every building in this city, he was still unfamiliar with it. The buildings that were destroyed by the war and fire, the wreckage of the cars on the street, were all reflected in Xia Pinggan's eyes. Behind Xia Pinggan, there were 2 battalions of warriors and hundreds of summoners. In the other directions of the city, Mo Yin Xiao and the others, as well as the summoners of the Demon Suppression Guard, were divided into 4 teams. From the north, south, east, and west, they were like 4 sharp knives, stabbing into Xianghe City and clearing out the last of the demons in Xianghe City. This was already the 7th day since Xia Pinggan returned to Xianghe City, and also the 3rd day of the operation to reclaim Xianghe City. In these 3 days, the hundreds of summoners and thousands of warriors gathered in Xianghe City, under the command of Xia Pinggan and the others, moved step by step, building by building, garage by garage, street by street, clearing out the demons. 2 days ago, there were still demon fire spiders running out, but today it was raining, so the demon fire spiders in the city hid. At most, one could only see demon liquid spiders and demon rats on the streets. Because of Xia Pinggan's long-range vision ability and his prestige among the soldiers of the 87th Legion, Xia Pinggan, who brought people to Xianghe City, was unquestionably one of the commanders of this operation. Young Master Moyen, who had the ability to see from afar and was extremely familiar with Fragrant River City, was also the commander of this battle. The other two commanders were summoners from the Demon Suppression Guard. They also had the ability to see from afar and could control the situation of the entire battlefield. The four teams coordinated their actions steadily and surely, pushing forward step by step, completely restraining those demonic creatures. Sniper Team 1 and Lightning Team 1 and 2. In the alley to the left of the giant strength building on East Street, there are 3 demon spirits, 7 demon rats, and 1 demon liquid spider hiding. Summoners, prepare to lure them. Xia Pingan's voice was transmitted to the troops behind him through the military walkie-talkies on the battlefield. The sniper team was responsible for dealing with the demon spirits, while the lightning team was responsible for dealing with the demon rats and demon liquid spiders using rocket launchers and individual fuel air explosives. As Xia Pingan raised his hand, the advancing team stopped. A summoner directed a slave soldier in front of the tank to rush into the alley that Xia Pingan mentioned. After more than 10 seconds, the slave soldier ran out of the alley, chased by 3 demon spirits, 7 demon rats, and 1 demon liquid spider. The sniper team's gunshots rang out, and the 3 phantom monsters demon spirits were hit by the rune bullets. They instantly burned and turned into ashes. Several rockets were fired. The magic liquid spider that had just rushed out of the alley didn't even have time to react before it was hit by one of the rockets. Its stomach exploded into pieces, and the corrosive liquid from the magic liquid spider's stomach splashed everywhere. The corrosive liquid splashed onto the nearby magic rats, corroding their bodies and causing them to emit smoke and squeak. The heavy machine guns started to roar, causing the demon rats that were rushing towards the team to bleed all over. However, when those demon rats were 50 m in front of the team, the heavy machine gun stopped. Some slave soldiers rushed up and easily dealt with those demon rats. Xia Pingan put away the corpses of those demon rats and demon liquid spiders. After that, he had the team continue to advance. When they arrived at the street entrance of the giant strength building, Xia Pingan ordered everyone to stand guard. There are demon rats on the 3rd, 7th, 13th floors and the roof of the giant strength building. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd squads enter and clean them up. After Xia Pingan's order, Tupolu took his huge saber and led a team of soldiers into the giant strength building with some summoners. There are a large group of demon fire spiders in the underground parking lot and the shelter of the giant strength building. 4th, 5th, and 6th squads, follow me into the underground parking lot to clean them up. The rest of you, stay on guard. Search for survivors in the nearby buildings and clean up the remains of the victims. A person's ability to survive was very strong. It was only after arriving at Xianghe City that Xia Pingan discovered that some residents of Xianghe City had locked themselves in their homes and family shelters. They relied on the stored food and collected rainwater and snow water at home to persevere for a few months. Therefore, searching for survivors became one of the tasks of the team. As for the remains of the victims, they could be found in many places in the city. Many of the remains had already rotted and had to be dealt with. If not, a plague might break out even if they conquered this city. After Xia Pingan finished speaking, he jumped down from the tank and led a few summoners and teams into the underground garage of the giant force building through the garage entrance. They began to clear out the large spiders entrenched in the underground garage and the underground shelter. Xia Pingan summoned a black Xuanwu the size of a millstone to lead the way. The Xuanwu shook its head and quickly arrived at the underground parking lot. Xia Pingan then led the team in. Then, several explosions sounded in the underground parking lot. In less than 10 minutes, Xia Pingan led the team out. All the demon fire spiders in the underground parking lot had been eliminated. Tupolu and the others also came out of the building with the corpses of the demon rats. 2 soldiers were injured, but their injuries were not serious. After going downstairs, they were immediately transferred to the hospital in the rear. The team in charge of the search also came out. There were no survivors, but there were 2 corpses. They had been properly handled and given to the people in the rear to bury them. The 4 squads pushed forward bit by bit like machines. They plowed through every street and every building in the city inch by inch. One day later, Xiaopingan once again used the thermobaric bombs and thermite bombs in his space warehouse. This was because a large number of demon liquid spiders and demon fire spiders had gathered in an underground shelter in the city. They were very difficult to deal with. A few thermobaric bombs and dozens of thermite bombs were stuffed in. Xiaopingan directly blew up the underground shelter alone. The explosion shook the entire city. This explosion also symbolized everyone's determination to reclaim Xianghe. The battle to reclaim Xianghe progressed steadily day by day. Although there were casualties in the battle, it was generally going smoothly. Compared to the organized humans, those demon creatures in the city were more like low-intelligence beasts. In only 5 days, not a single demon creature could be seen in Xianghe City. When the 4 squads finally met in the city square in the center of Xianghe City, all the soldiers and summoners who participated in the battle were excited and reveled. Xianghe City was finally reclaimed. Chapter 147. A large group of summoners and officers stood at Xianghe City's airport, which had just been cleaned up. They were all looking forward to it. After a few days of haze, the weather today was pretty good. It was rare to see a clear sky. Almost all of the summoners gathered at Xianghe City had come. All of the 87th Legion's field officers had also come. There were a total of several hundred people gathered here. Xiaopingan was wearing a brand new 87th Legion's black priest uniform with the Legion's priest insignia. He stood at the front of the crowd, appearing rather conspicuous. Mo Yanxiao was also wearing a black combat uniform. He was in high spirits. Even Tu Polu, who usually didn't care about trifles, had carefully cleaned up and shaved his head, making his bald head shine in the crowd. Li Yinzhou, Chao Xinghua, Chun Yisheng, and the others had been sharpened a lot after this incident. Even Li Yinzhou had become much calmer and wasn't as jumpy as before. And Qing, Feng Lingshan, and LV Na were also wearing female summoner combat uniforms. Each of them looked valiant and formidable, attracting the attention of the surrounding male summoners and officers. Mo Yanxiao looked at the clouds in the sky as he turned his head and whispered to Xiaopingan, "How's the situation over at Xinchuan?" Xiaopingan replied, "Yanduo isn't content with his lot. He led people to attack a few times and killed many demon wolves and demon rats. The situation at Xinchuan hasn't worsened. It's still under control. Those demons are still entrenched in the city." Guowei brought a battalion of soldiers back to Yunwan Mountain Base yesterday. Yunwan Mountain Base's citizens have already mobilized several thousand people to start repairing the highway between Xinchuan and Xianghe. The situation was developing in a good direction. After the news of Xianghe City's recovery reached Yunwan Mountain Base, everyone in Yunwan Mountain Base was boiling with excitement. Before, the citizens in the base didn't dare to go out, but now, their courage had started to grow. The reason why Yanduo was so active in killing demonic creatures was mostly because of the Realm Pearl. However, one had to admit that this guy's ability was indeed formidable. As the snow melted and the weather turned sunny, the activities of the large spiders that were previously hiding underground began to become more frequent these days. There were many monsters entrenched in Xinchuan City, which was a threat to the recovery of Xianghe. In the past week or so, Yanduo had not only guarded Matai tightly, but he had also achieved a lot. Just 2 days ago, he had led a group of warriors and engineers to set up a killing array with the anti-tank mines and explosives in the Cloud Bay Mountain Base. They had used the same old method and had killed more than 100 demon wolves, more than 200 demon fire spiders, and many demon rats. The recovery of Xianghe City had opened up the entire Izhou province. After the engineers' emergency repairs, a TV station and a radio station in Xianghe City had been gradually restored. They were now in use and could broadcast the news of the recovery of Xianghe City to the entire Izhou and the nearby provinces. As long as there was a TV or radio in Izhou, they could receive the programs broadcast here. During the disaster, these broadcasts and programs played a huge role. They were like torches lit in the darkness, giving people light and hope. In just a few days, Many troops, summoners, and ordinary citizens who were previously scattered in the wild had gathered in Xianghe City after receiving the news. Now, Xianghe City had more than 300,000 people. The number of troops was also increasing, and these people were still increasing every day. There was enough food in Xianghe City. The underground military granary here was intact and could feed more than 1 million people for 2 years. In order to deal with the space invasion, there were simply too many military granaries and shelters in the provinces and cities of the Fire Country. Xianghe City was gradually recovering its vitality and vitality. The ruins and garbage on the streets were being cleaned up by the people who returned to the city. The city's water supply and power supply facilities were being restored little by little. Even a repaired bus on the streets became news on TV and was filmed and broadcasted. A few minutes later, a gray-green military transport plane appeared above the clouds and glided towards the airport. Seeing the arrival of the plane, the people waiting at the airport were all shocked. The military transport plane landed steadily on the cleared runway and then glided towards the landing apron where the people were waiting. When the military transport plane stopped, the cabin door opened and the escalator was lowered. The figure of the old man Wang Shihe appeared at the cabin door. After not seeing him for many months, the silver-haired old man still stood tall and straight. He held a dragon-headed cane in his hand and wore a black suit. He was meticulously dressed like a yuppie gentleman. However, compared to before, the only difference was that the old man wore a black eye patch over his left eye. The black eye patch added a hint of coldness to the old man's body. Seeing the old man getting off the plane, the reporters who had long been waiting here hurriedly rushed up and gave the old man a few close-up shots. The excited reporter pointed at the plane beside the old man with a microphone and introduced, "Ladies and gentlemen, today is February 7th, 2020. After being closed for several months, the Xianghe City airport finally landed today. It's a military transport plane. It took off from the Capital Bay area and steadily landed here after flying over 4,000 kilometers. The one who got off the plane is Wang Shihe, the new chairman of the E-Province Military Administrative Committee. Chairman Wang was in charge of E-Province before. Seeing Chairman Wang get off the plane, I believe that the order of the other cities in E-Province will soon be restored. Those invading demons will definitely be eliminated. The old man glanced over the crowd with his remaining right eye before slowly getting off the plane. Xiao Pingan took a deep breath. With his head held high and his chest out, he was the first to walk over and salute the old man. On behalf of all the summoners of the 87th Legion and all the warriors of the 87th Legion, Xiao Pingan, the high priest of the 87th Legion, welcomes you back to E-Province, old master. Xiao Pingan was born in the E-Province Demon Suppression Guard and was the old man's subordinate. He was also a summoner of the 87th Legion and could be considered a member of the 87th Legion. With these two identities and Xiao Pingan's achievements in Xinchuan and Xianghe, there is no doubt that he was the most suitable person to represent everyone to welcome the old man's return. You didn't disgrace the E-Province Demon Suppression Guard and the 87th Legion. You didn't disgrace me, and you didn't disgrace Chairman Tang Guofeng, who sacrificed himself. You're the pride of Great Yin, the pride of the country. Every one of you is worthy of your identity as a soldier and a summoner. The old man was also a little emotional as he spoke loudly to everyone present. Upon hearing the old man's words, many soldiers and summoners present held their heads high, but they couldn't stop their tears from flowing down. The past few months have been too difficult. Countless people have been sacrificed, cities had fallen, and countless people had lost their homes. The entire Great Fire Country was basically in a state of anarchy. There was no hope at all. The reason why everyone had been able to hold on until today was because of the hot-bloodedness and indomitable spirit in their chests. What was that spirit? Even if they had to die, they would fight those fiends to the end. The old man shook hands with Xiao Pingan. Only then did Xiao Pingan realize that the old man had taken off his glove and was shaking hands with his left hand. The old man's right hand was still gloved, and under the glove was a steel prosthesis. Apart from his left eye, The old man's right hand was also, when he recalled the scene of the old man guarding the E-Province Committee of Order on the night of the heavenly tribulation, as well as the several large craters and collapsed buildings where the Committee of Order was located, Xia Pinggan's heart trembled slightly. He also felt a little bitter. The old man had also risked his life that night. The old man saw the change in Xia Pinggan's expression. He just smiled faintly and said, "At my age, it's not a big deal that I can still contribute an eye and an arm to the country. In any case, this eye and arm will be brought into the coffin in the future. I don't think it's a loss to be able to use them before that. You're very good. I know what you did in Xinchuan and Xianghe. As expected of someone who walked out of the demon suppression guard. You're very good, very good." As the old man spoke, he patted Xia Pinggan's shoulder heavily with his hand. "Old man, you're flattering me. I only did what I should," Xia Pinggan said calmly. The old man nodded. He looked at the others and straightened his expression. He said directly, "Next, I'll announce the newest appointment of the E-Province Military Committee. Mo Yanxiao, step forward." Mo Yanxiao stepped forward from the crowd. "From now on, you're the director of the Xianghe City Military Committee." "Yes." Mo Yanxiao acknowledged the order loudly, and then took a step back. Wang Cheng stepped forward. Wang Cheng strode forward and gave a military salute. "From now on, I appoint you as the Major General of the newly formed 87th Legion." Wang Cheng looked excited. He gave a military salute and then returned to the group. Luo Yang stepped forward. "From now on, I appoint you as the commander of the Xianghe City Military District." Tupalu stepped forward. Hearing the old man call out his name, Tupalu was stunned for a moment. However, he hurriedly took 2 steps forward and walked out. "From now on, I appoint you as the director of the Xianghe City Committee of Order." The old man announced the appointment at the airport. All the officers and summoners present, including those who weren't present, were appointed to new positions as long as they made contributions. Guo Wei wasn't present, but he was also promoted to be the new chief of staff of the 87th Legion. His rank was promoted to Major General. Yin Duo wasn't present, but he was also appointed as one of the commanders of the Demon Suppression Guards by the old man. And Qing was appointed as the director of the Special Operations Division of the Xianghe City Committee of Order. All the summoners present, either in the Demon Suppression Guards or in the Committee of Order, had their positions changed. Until the old man finished reading everyone's name, he didn't mention Xia Pinggan's appointment. Everyone's expression changed slightly. Xia Pinggan's expression didn't change. However, the straightforward Tupalu couldn't help but stand up and ask in a rough voice, "Old man, Xia Pinggan contributed the most and killed the most demons. What's his appointment?" "Xia Pinggan has another important task. His appointment won't be announced here," the old man said calmly. Chapter 148. Following the arrival of the old man, the entire Xianghe city was like a clockwork machine that quickly revolved around the battle of recovering Xinchuan. The returning soldiers of the 87th Legion that were previously scattered began to reorganize into a new division of the 87th Legion. The new division's numbers quickly exceeded 10,000. The Izhou Demon Suppression Guards were also formed once again. The newly formed division and the Demon Suppression Guards began to be mixed. The so-called mixed division was the most effective way to eliminate demons that Xia Pinggan and the others had concluded from their previous experience. Generally speaking, a combat squad of about 100 people was formed by 2 to 3 summoners and a company. It was the most effective way to deal with demons in the city's alleyways and the wilderness. In such a combat squad of 100 people, one platoon of soldiers was equipped with rocket launchers, another platoon of soldiers was equipped with grenade launchers and machine guns, and another platoon of soldiers was responsible for battlefield support. At the same time, the sniper squad was equipped with runic bullets. With the abilities of the summoners and the soldiers complementing each other, they could basically completely suppress the demons entrenched in the city. Such a combat squad of 100 people was flexible in advancing and retreating. If they encountered a small group of demons, they could single-handedly eliminate them. If they encountered a large group of demons, they could also work together. It was the most efficient and convenient. 3 days after the old man arrived at Xianghe City, a total of 118 combat squads of 100 people were formed. Then, the old man led the squads directly out of Xianghe City and drove to Matai Town to officially begin the battle of recovering Xinchuan. Xianghe City and Yunwan Mountain Base were already connected. The roads in these two places have been restored and became the rear of Matai Town. The people who had been hiding in various places previously started to gather towards Xianghe City and Yunwan Mountain Base in an endless stream. The old man was the overall commander of the battle. Xiao Pingan was kept by the old man's side. Xiao Pingan's identity beside the old man was still the 87th Legion's high priest. To a certain extent, Xiao Pingan had become the old man's assistant. Because Xiao Pingan had the ability to see from afar, and the old man liked to be close to the battlefield to command the battle, Xiao Pingan became the old man's clairvoyant on the battlefield. He could provide the old man with relevant battlefield information and developments at any time. Other than being a clairvoyant by the old man's side, Xiao Pingan's other responsibility was to be responsible for the production of pills and runic bullets. The fresh corpses of demons obtained from the battlefield were basically sent to Xiao Pingan in exchange for nascent spirit pills, Shinli Dan, and runic bullets. Xiao Pingan. The battlefront outside Matai Town continued to advance towards Xinchuan City. They advanced a few miles a day. As there was an endless stream of summoners and warriors from the 87th Legion surging in from all directions, and there were also people constantly requesting to join the army, the number of 100-man combat squads that the old man could command did not decrease as the days went by. Instead, it gradually increased. Every day, there would be new combat squads joining the battlefield. It didn't take long for the initial 118 100-man combat squads to become 131 squads. Xiao Pingan personally witnessed the situation of the entire Xinchuan battlefield turning around bit by bit. The situation was completely different now. The number of demons on the battlefield decreased with each kill, while the number of demon suppression guards and 87th Legion warriors increased with each battle. A week after the old man arrived at Matai Town, a total of 137 100-man combat squads, more than 2,000 vehicles of various types, more than 3,000 returning warriors, and more than 20,000 militia had pushed the battlefront to the outskirts of Xinchuan City and completed the encirclement of Xinchuan City. The battle that followed was a repeat of the battle in Xianghe City. Those demons with low intelligence didn't create any miracles. More than 140 100-man combat squads attacked Xinchuan from 7 directions. They advanced slowly, step by step, town by town, street by street, building by building. They wiped out the demons, constantly pushing the line of defense forward. The demons that were entrenched in the city were completely turned into caged beasts under the siege of such an iron bucket formation. In a situation where the demons were killed by rune bullets and summoners as soon as they appeared, the demonic fire spiders, demonic liquid spiders, and demonic rats tried to break out of the encirclement several times, but they all ended in failure under the attack of demonic bombs, demonic rockets, and various modern weapons. This time, the streets, underground shelters, and garages of Xinchuan City were filled with the corpses of those demons. On the 26th of February, 2020, 19 days after the old man returned to Yizhou, Xinchuan City, as the capital of Yizhou, was restored. Xinchuan City was in an uproar. The entire city was filled with the sound of gunshots fired into the sky. When the restoration of Xinchuan was announced, the excited soldiers and militiamen inside and outside Xinchuan City took out their guns and fired into the sky. At this time, it was evening. Xiao Pingan accompanied the old man back to the Yizhou Committee of Orders base in Xinchuan. After an entire winter, the Yizhou Committee of Orders base had changed. The collapsed buildings were still collapsed, and the craters left by the meteors were still intact. However, in the ruins of the building, among the broken bricks and collapsed steel structures, weeds with vigorous vitality were stubbornly and vigorously drilled out from the cracks between the stones and steel. The old man held the dragon-headed cane with both hands, like an old man returning to his hometown. Looking at the ruins, he said with some emotion, "I didn't realize before that the weeds here could grow so vigorously." Old man, did you realize that these weeds are just like people? The vitality of people is actually not worse than these weeds. Xiao Pingan stood behind the old man and said softly, "Yes, the land covered by the blood of monsters and snow will definitely grow stronger grass in spring." The old man turned his head and said to Xiao Pingan with a very serious expression, "You've worked hard these days. I just did what I should do. Among all the summoners, you have the greatest contribution in recovering Xianghe and Xinchuan. It can be said that you have made the greatest contribution. Do you know why I haven't promoted you?" The old man suddenly asked. Xiao Pingan smiled bitterly. "Because you wanted to arrange a more important task for me. Now that Xinchuan has been recovered, the monsters in other parts of Izhou won't be able to hold on for too long. Old man, you can tell me now. I won't be able to stay in Izhou for more than a few days." The old man took a deep look at Xiao Pingan. "You've already guessed it. I've guessed a bit, but I still don't know what task it is." The old man let out a long sigh. "Walk with me." After saying that, the old man turned around and walked towards the road outside step by step. Xiao Pingan also followed the old man. "Do you know how many people have died in the Great Fire Country from October 28th last year to today?" The old man suddenly asked Xiao Pingan in a low voice while walking on the road. Xiao Pingan shook his head. "The initial estimate of the number of victims in the country of Great Yin is more than 110 million. The old master uttered an extremely heavy number. His voice was slightly hoarse and trembling. "The total number of victims from all over the world is more than 900 million. Our planet, the humans in this world, are like chickens and ducks locked in cages. They can be slaughtered at will. If we add up the number of people who have died since the dimensional invasion, the number is more than 33 billion. As long as the dimensional invasion is not stopped, our children and grandchildren will never be able to escape this tragic fate." These two figures made Xiao Pingan's heart heavy. In the past few months of disasters, these two figures were too depressing. "How do we end the space invasion?" Xiao Pingan asked. As the old man walked, he asked Xiao Pingan a question. "Do you believe that there are gods and demons in this world? Do you believe that there's a power and a will that transcends the limits of human imagination?" "I do," Xiao Pingan replied straightforwardly. Seeing the old man's eyes on him, Xiao Pingan added, "Actually, I've always been a theist. In front of the creation of the universe, we're too small. Additionally, we're not alone." The old man continued to ask, "Have you ever thought that the so-called space invasion is not caused by nature, but by a power that's beyond our knowledge?" Chapter 149. Old Master, I didn't think so before. Xiao Pingan shook his head. "I used to think that space invasion was a natural phenomenon of the intersection of space between our world and another world. But in the past few months, especially after witnessing the scene of the spatial rift closing and disappearing with my own eyes, I've been thinking about what the power that closed the spatial rift was. What was that tree in that figure? Was the holy arrival that the demon I mentioned the power you mentioned? In this universe, are there always two completely different forces fighting against each other? Are these two forces the god and the devil that you mentioned, old man?" "I can tell you now. Yes," the old man said calmly, and his frankness surprised Xiao Pingan. "This was originally a secret passed down by the demon suppression guards since ancient times. Now, you're qualified to know. The so-called gods and demons are our definitions of those two forces. We don't know what's behind those two forces, but we're sure that they're two super wills that can affect and dominate everything. One force brings darkness, terror, and pain, and the other force is the complete opposite. The demon suppression guards already knew. Yes, our ancestors had long sensed the existence of those two forces. But in order to avoid causing public panic and disintegrating the authority of the government, we kept quiet about the existence of those two forces, and the media didn't report it. Then, Chairman Li Chongyang said in the announcement that the permanent spatial rifts in all parts of the world would disappear, and in the next 18 years, there would be no more space invasions of any level on this planet. Was this a message from the other super will that sealed the spatial rifts? Yes. The old man nodded. Among the awakened in our world, there's always been a very special and rare group that can awaken an extraordinary ability. The ability they awaken allows them to sense the information of the super will and convey it to us. This awakened ability has different names in different countries and races. Some are called oracles, some are called prophets, and some are called saints since ancient times. The sages who created the demon suppression guards were awakened with this ability, and Chairman Li Chongyang was an oracle who awakened this ability. There are also such people in other countries, including China. The information that the oracles come into contact with can be verified with each other. Xiao Pingan was shocked. He did not expect that someone could awaken such an ability. Didn't these oracles receive the news of the holy arrival and heavenly tribulation? The old man sighed. The world where the two super wills are fighting against each other is too mysterious and unpredictable. It's very difficult for outsiders to guess the specific situation. Sometimes, one of them will completely suppress the other and gain the upper hand. Sometimes, it's the other way around. Just like the cycle of night and day, the two forces can only coexist at dawn and dusk. When one force completely gains the upper hand, the influence of the other force on this world may be completely blocked and cut off for a period of time. Just like the opening and closing of spatial rifts and the isolation of space invasions for the next 18 years, these are the manifestations of the entanglement of these two forces. Half a year before the arrival of heavenly tribulation, the connection between the oracles and the super will of this world was completely cut off and blocked, so they have not received any information. Xiao Pingan accompanied the old man as they strolled through the streets of this city that were full of vicissitudes but had obtained new life. The old man talked to Xiao Pingan as they walked. The old man spoke tirelessly, revealing terrifying secrets. Xiao Pingan gradually understood what the old man wanted him to do. If they wanted to completely end the endless disasters that the space invasions had brought to all human countries in this world, the answer lay at the source of the space invasions. According to the oracle and information obtained by the oracles, there were some dark towers in the world where the space invasions originated from. As long as these dark towers could be destroyed, the history of space invasions in this world would be ended. Ever since they learned of this information, the Great Fire Country and the Kingdom of Huaxia had formulated a sky patching plan. The goal of the sky patching plan was to end the space invasions and destroy the dark towers that were the source of the space invasions. There was a secret base under the ice of the South Pole, jointly managed by the Great Fire Country and the Kingdom of Huaxia. In that secret base, there was a spatial crack that could allow humans to enter that world. Ever since the Great Fire Country and the Kingdom of Huaxia sent a large number of elites to that world on the 18th of June, 1996, the Great Fire Country and the Kingdom of Huaxia had sent a total of 4 batches of elites to that world over the past 2 decades. Countless people have been sacrificed, but they had never succeeded, let alone destroying the Dark Towers. They didn't even know what the Dark Towers were, what they looked like, or where they were. The information from the first few operations of the sky patching plan only told them that the world on the other side was vast and filled with dangers. There were countless magical creatures over there, but at the same time, there were also humans living and thriving in that world with their own civilization. Summoners were the absolute rulers of that world. Moreover, that world had some special resources and conditions that could allow a summoner's strength to grow to an unimaginable level. The number of people who can enter that world through the spatial passage in the South Pole isn't unlimited. Every person who enters will consume a bit of the spatial crack's energy. Right now, the spatial crack's remaining energy is enough to allow 108 people to enter. Moreover, that spatial crack will completely close in the next 2 months. I don't know if it will open again in the future. The people who enter that spatial crack this time will have a 90% chance of survival. Even if they survive, they may never come back. This is the last operation of the sky patching plan. Our Great Fire Country has a quota of 54 people this time. All participants are voluntary. I'll give you 3 days to think it over. If you don't want to go, you'll stay here and take over as the commander of the Province Demon Suppression Guards. After saying this, the old man left. This was a life and death decision. Even if it was Xia Pingan, he had no choice but to seriously consider it. Finally, Xia Pingan walked aimlessly on the street of Xinchuan City alone. At this moment, the gunshots had stopped. The crowd was still celebrating in the square of the city center. Therefore, the streets of the city became a bit desolate. As he walked, Xia Pingan accidentally kicked a small deformed iron box on the roadside. After the box was kicked open, a crystal music box rolled out of the iron box. Xia Pingan picked up the music box and a crystal ball. Inside the crystal ball was a little person dancing ballet. There was a small note hanging on the music box with a few words written on it. "Happy birthday, darling Linlin. Daddy and Mommy will always love you." Xia Pingan twisted the spring of the music box twice before putting it in his palm. Along with the winding of the spring, the figure in the crystal ball started to dance ballet. At the same time, the music box started to play the melodious and pleasant birthday song on the quiet street. There was only Xia Pingan's towering figure and the gently reverberating sound of the music box. The next day, Xia Pingan came to the old man and said calmly, "I'm willing to participate in the heaven patching plan. At the same time, I have a request." "What request?" "Please take good care of my sister." The old man nodded. "Xianing will be my granddaughter from now on. I can arrange for you to meet each other." The recovery of Xinchuan was a major event for the entire Izhou province. 2 days after the recovery of Xinchuan, the city slowly became lively. People came from all over the place. In just a few days, the city's population had broken through the 100,000 mark. The water supply was gradually restored, and so was the power supply. The debris on the streets of the city was being cleaned up by the people and vehicles that swarmed in. During this period, Xia Pingan, as the priest of the 87th Legion, once again presided over a requiem ceremony for the soldiers who had sacrificed their lives. On the 6th of March, Xia Pingan took a military plane and left Xinchuan. He was going to meet Xianing. What surprised Xia Pingan was that other than him, there was another person on the plane that he hadn't thought of before. Yin Duo shrugged. "Don't look at me like that, okay? I think the heaven patching plan is quite interesting." I went to the old man and volunteered to go. A few guys gave up because they were scared. Now that there are a few extra spots, I'll take one. Chapter 150. The capital of the Fire Country, the Bay Area, was located on the west coast of the North Light continent. It was the largest bay area in the world and also the most economically developed place in the world. Xia Pingan and Yin Duo sat in a military plane, crossing thousands of kilometers. After several hours of flight, the plane arrived at the heart of the Fire Country, the capital of the Fire Country, on the evening of the 6th of March. The 54 people participating in the Patch the Heavens plan in the Fire Country had to gather at the capital of the Bay Area and then travel by sea to the South Pole base. According to the old man, Xianing had also arrived at the capital of the Bay Area and was just in time to say goodbye to Xia Pingan. Looking down from the plane, many places in the country of Fire's capital, the Bay Area, were already electrified and brightly lit. If one did not pay attention, it was almost impossible to imagine that this was a city that had just recovered from a huge disaster. When the plane landed, Xia Pingan could also see a few aircraft carriers docked at the military port in the Bay Area. If there were other Chinese people like him who came to this world, how would they feel when they saw San Francisco become the capital of the Fire Country? Looking at the majestic Bay Area bridge below the plane, Xia Pingan couldn't help but think of the Golden Gate Bridge that was destroyed over and over again in Hollywood movies. The two looked a little similar, both were cable-stayed bridges. Yin Duo was exhausted from the past few days. After recovering the Light Continent, he led the team to clean up the wild monsters. He hadn't closed his eyes for a few days. After boarding the plane, he spent most of the time sleeping with his eyes closed. It wasn't until the plane landed at a military airport that he opened his eyes, rubbed his face, and got up from his seat. Have we arrived? 2 officers. We have arrived at the Sky Phoenix Air Force Base in the capital of the Bay Area. The flight crew came in front of the 2, said, and opened the cabin door. Xia Pingan nodded. Thank you for your hard work. Then he turned and walked towards the cabin door. Yin Duo also stood up and followed Xia Pingan down the plane. The flight crew stood at attention at the cabin door and saluted as they watched the 2 of them leave. Outside the plane, there were already 2 black military off-road vehicles. A male and a female major were waiting beside the vehicles. Seeing the 2 people coming down, the 2 officers came up and saluted them. Then they introduced themselves to the 2 people. The female officer's name was Lu Li, and the male officer's name was Tian Xiqing. They were both sent by the Military Management Committee to receive the 2 of them. Yin Snatch boarded Tian Xiqing's car, while Xia Pingan boarded Lu Li's car. After the 2 cars drove out of the airport, they went their separate ways. Yin Duo headed straight for the military port, while Lu Li drove Xia Pingan towards the city. There were patrolling military vehicles and soldiers everywhere on the roads of the capital circle. Tanks, armored vehicles, and fortifications could be seen at many of the intersections. The air here was filled with the hidden ripples of divine power after summoners lit up their lamps. Seeing this scene, Xia Pingan felt relieved. Although the air in the capital circle was still tense, the order here should have been restored. An hour later, Major Lu Li drove Xia Pingan to a Guangzhou hotel in the capital Greater Bay Area. The car drove directly into the hotel's underground parking lot and stopped. After getting out of the car, Lu Li took Xia Pingan to the hotel's internal elevator and went up to the 28th floor of the hotel. She then brought Xia Pingan to the door of room 2801. Xiaoning came to Guangzhou Hotel yesterday. She's staying here. We've already told her that you'll be coming tonight. She's waiting for you in the room. Okay, thank you. Xia Pingan took a deep breath and pressed the doorbell of the room. Ding dong. The doorbell rang once, and the door of the room was suddenly opened. Brother. Seeing Xia Pingan standing at the door, Xiaoning rushed over and hugged Xia Pingan tightly as she cried. Come, let's talk inside. When Xiaoning was almost done crying, Xia Pingan patted Xiaoning's head and entered the room with Xiaoning. Major Lu Li was waiting outside. After entering the room, Xia Pingan realized that the room was very spacious. It was the standard of a presidential suite. Xia Pingan looked at Xiaoning. After not seeing her for a few months, Xiaoning had actually gained some weight, and her complexion looked good. It seemed that Xiaoning was living a good life in the doomsday bunker, codenamed Tianshou. The 2 of them sat on the sofa. Xiaoning grabbed Xia Pingan's hand and wiped her tears. It was as though she had suddenly opened up a chatterbox. She started talking to Xia Pingan excitedly. Brother, you don't know. Tianshou City's doomsday bunker is really underground. Oh my God, it's such a big city. It's underground. That underground city uses electricity. There are electric rail cars, electric buses, underground solar farms, all sorts of resource recycling systems, and artificial suns. The large military transport plane that I took that day could directly fly into the Doomsday Bunker's airport in the mountainside. It's so shocking. A Doomsday Bunker can accommodate millions of people. The entire city is divided into many levels. I've lived in that Doomsday Bunker for a few months, but I still haven't figured out how big that Doomsday Bunker is. Xia Pingan smiled as he listened to Xiaoning's description of what she had seen and heard in the Doomsday Bunker. What were you doing in the Doomsday Bunker? You've gained weight after not seeing you for a few months. Xiaoning blushed. After I arrived there, they assigned me to a sunny farm. Inside the sunny farm is a high-tech organic orchard with soilless cultivation. My job is to take care of those fruits. My job is quite simple. I just need to check the sensing data of the nutrient solution used to cultivate the fruits every day and adjust the value of the light. There's nothing to do in that orchard, so I just need to patrol the orchard every day. After walking around a few times, I will pick 2 fruits to eat when I'm bored. Those fruits are pretty tasty and clean without needing to be washed. After eating a lot of fruits and exercising less, I gained 2 kilograms of weight. By the way, brother, I heard from the person who sent me here that you've made a great contribution in your province. Is it true? Is that true? Xiao smiled. I gained a little weight. It's not that big. I told them I'd be fine. What else did they tell you? They said you've made a great contribution. The order outside the Doomsday Bunker has gradually been restored. They told me I could go to the National Capital University in the Bay Area of the capital city to study art and enjoy the highest scholarship. In the future, I could live in the Bay Area of the capital city. If I were to encounter any danger, I could return to the Doomsday Bunker. I have the permanent right to reside in the Doomsday Bunker, Xiaoning said excitedly. Brother, did you know? They said I would be a student of Professor Yuruden in the Capital University and could learn painting from her. Oh my God, I feel like I'm dreaming. They said the Capital University would start classes at the end of this month. The National Capital University in the Fire Country was one of the top 10 famous universities in the world. Yuruden was the signature of the School of Fine Arts of the Capital University and a world-renowned female painter. She was also one of Xianing's idols since he was young. Xiaoning dreamed of learning from Yuruden and becoming a female painter like her. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, Xiaoning realized that his dream had come true. Before coming here, Xiao had actually considered whether he should let Xiaoning become a summoner. Xiaoning did not have the ability to fuse with the Realm Pearl in the past, but he still had a lot of body-strengthening pills. As long as he ate these body-strengthening pills, Xiaoning would definitely be able to fuse with the Realm Pearl. However, at this moment, looking at Xiaoning's radiant expression when he talked about painting, Xiao quietly dispelled this thought in his heart. A person's true happiness was to live their life in the way they liked and pursue what they liked throughout their life, not to become a summoner. So what if Xiaoning became a summoner and entered the first, second, and third elemental realms? Could he live a happy life just by becoming a summoner? Could he really be safe and sound when he encountered a crisis after becoming a summoner? As Xiao pondered, Xiaoning asked about the situation in Yizhou and Xinchuan. He also asked about Feng Lingshan and Enqing's recent situation. Hearing that Feng Lingshan and Enqing were fine, Xiaoning was obviously relieved. By the way, brother, I think Sister Enqing and Sister Lingshan are not bad. What are you thinking? Do you have the heart to find a sister-in-law for me? Xiaoning questioned Xiao Pingon. Xiao Pingon knocked Xiaoning's head. Don't worry about your brother. I have to leave Yizhou for a period of time to carry out a special mission. It may not be easy to see them again in the future. You won't be able to contact me for a long time. Don't worry about me. Before I came, I already told Enqing and Old Tu to take care of you in the future. You can just treat them as your brothers and sisters. Ah, brother, what mission are you going to carry out? Is it dangerous? Don't worry. In front of your brother, there is no danger. I will take good care of myself. Xiao Pingon said as he took out a medicine bottle and a suitcase. He then seriously explained to Xiaoning, the medicinal pills in this medicine bottle are called body-strengthening pills. There are 180 pills in it. You could take one every day. After taking these pills, they can improve your physique and make your skin better. In the future, you won't age easily and become fat easily. Keep these pills for yourself. Brother, how did you suddenly take these things out? Xiaoning saw Xia Pingon use the space warehouse for the first time. He was so shocked that he almost jumped up. It's nothing. This is just a summoner's space equipment. Don't make a fuss. I just said that you could take one pill a day. Do you remember? Ah, there's such a pill. Brother, where did you get it? Xiaoning immediately took the bottle when he heard Xiao Pingon say that there was such a pill. You don't have to worry about that. Have you forgotten that I'm a summoner? I can't explain the abilities of a summoner to you. Xiao Pingon patted Xiaoning's head and pointed at another suitcase. He said with a smile, "This suitcase contains my spoils of war. It's not convenient to carry them with me. There are realm pearls inside. I don't need them anymore, so I'll give them to you. Open a safe in the Bank of Great Yin and store these realm pearls. If you need them, you can take them out. Don't say that I didn't prepare a dowry for you in the future." Xiaoning wrinkled his nose and pouted. You haven't even found a sister-in-law yet, and you're already thinking of getting me married. You should find a sister-in-law first. I'll keep these for you as a betrothal gift. All right, I'll bring a sister-in-law the next time I come back. Keep the things in this suitcase well. Xiao Pingan patted Xia Ning's head again. All right, I'm leaving. I'll be back when I'm done with my mission. Xia Ning had no idea that this might be their last meeting. Xiao Pingan acted as though he was just carrying out an ordinary mission. Xia Ning believed him. This time, the brother and sister met for less than half an hour before Xiao Pingan left. Xia Ning sent Xiao Pingan to the underground parking lot. He watched as Xiao Pingan and a female officer got into the car. He smiled and waved at her. The car started, and Xiao Pingan left. Chapter 151. Sitting in the car, looking at Xia Ning running after the car in the rearview mirror and waving from behind, Xiao Pingan can't help but feel a little sad. He was calm before because he didn't want Xia Ning to worry and feel sad. In his heart, Xiao Pingan was also sad. This party might be forever. He only hoped that time would dilute everything. Major Lu Li, who was driving, saw Xiao Pingan's sadness and comforted him. Don't worry, all the families of the people involved in the Patchwork Heavens plan will receive the best care and protection in the Fire Country. We have a special organization and personnel in charge of this. After Xia Ning graduates from the National Capital University, we will provide her with room for development according to her wishes. The car had already driven out of the hotel. Xiao Pingan exhaled and threw away the sadness in his heart. He wasn't worried about Xia Ning. If she couldn't even handle this in the Fire Country, she would be too incompetent. Moreover, before coming here, he had already made some arrangements in Yi Province. Before coming here, he gave his old colleagues in the Shanghai Committee of Order, Mo Yanxiao, Tupelu, Li Yinzhou, Lao Zhou, and Xing, Fongling Shan, Guowei, and Manzigen each a set of Foundation Establishment realm beads and a set of Slave Soldier realm beads as souvenirs. After this wave of monsters was eliminated, there would be no space invasion for the next 18 years, which meant that there would be no new realm beads. If he wanted to train more summoners, he could only consume these stored realm beads. These realm beads would become more and more precious and valuable. In Yi Province, besides the old man who promised to take care of him, he had friends and acquaintances everywhere. He had formed a lot of good karma in Yi Province. In the future, those people would have a lot of power in the Committee of Order or the army. One by one, they would step into important positions and leadership positions. It could be said that if Xia Ning returned to Yi Province now, he would definitely be able to do whatever he wanted. Manzigen wanted to come with her, but she didn't have a spot and was rejected by the old man. Other than the Realm Pearl, he had also given the super pickup truck that Lao Zhou had built for him to Manzigen. Manzigen was now a colonel and was in charge of reorganizing the 87th Legion's Fire Dragon Commando team. She had been with him for a long time and had accumulated a wealth of experience in fighting against magical creatures. In the future, she would become the commanding officer of the 87th Corps Fire Dragon Commando. His friendship with the 87th Legion was quite deep. Although Mo Yanxiao, Tupelu, and the others didn't know about the Skymender plan, they could guess that they might be going on some dangerous mission. When they parted, they were a little sad. They all promised to take good care of Xia Ning in the future. Thinking of the arrangements he had made, Xiao Pingan felt completely relaxed. He was no longer worried about Xia Ning. Xia Ning had grown up. She would have her own life. As for himself, he would just treat this mission as a rare trip to another world. After all, he was born to love adventure. However, the fact that Major Lu Li also knew about the Skymender plan was a little out of Xiao Pingan's expectations. Wasn't the Skymender plan supposed to be the top secret of the Fire Country? How did a major in charge of receiving him know about it? Major Lu Li glanced at Xiao Pingan. She seemed to know what Xiao Pingan was thinking. With a calm expression, she said softly, "My father was also a summoner. He was part of the second batch of people to participate in the Skymender plan. He left when I was 7 and never came back. No one knew if he was still alive or not. All these years, no one in my family knew what he had been doing. It wasn't until I joined the army that I came into contact with some confidential information due to work that I saw his name and file in the Skyminder plan. All right, here's his photo. Major Luli held the steering wheel with one hand and took out an old photo from her pocket with the other. She handed it to Xia Pingan. My father's name is Lu Shanha. If you see him when you go there, tell him. My mother, and I don't blame him. Xia Pingan took the photo and looked at it. In the photo, there was a handsome man in his 30s. The man was holding the hand of a little girl in a one-piece dress. The background of the two was a Ferris wheel. From the looks of it, the little girl was Major Lu Li when she was still young. The photo was yellowed and slightly worn. It seemed that this photo had been taken out many times over the years. Just this photo alone contained so much of the family's longing. Okay, I will pass your message to him if I see him. Xiao Pingan returned the photo. Lu Shanha had not returned, most likely because he had sacrificed himself. Major Lu Li should understand this. But even so, Major Lu Li still wanted him to pass a message to Lu Shanha. This obsession was perhaps the greatest consolation and hope for those who remained in this world. They hoped that their loved ones were still alive. Xiao Pingan couldn't bear to expose her. Major Lu Li directly drove Xiao Pingan to a heavily guarded military base in the capital ring before leaving. Yin Duo's room was right beside Xiao Pingan's. When Xiao Pingan saw Yin Duo, the first thing that Yin Duo said was, I didn't expect that there would be a woman in this Skyminder plan, and she's quite pretty. You saw her? Yes, she lives upstairs. I wanted to have a chat with her just now, but I didn't expect her to be so arrogant. She told me to scram. Yin Duo said without a hint of embarrassment. Xiao Pingan was speechless. Yin Duo had a head of white hair and looked quite cold. Those who didn't know him would think that he was a cold person. However, after getting to know him better, Xiao Pingan realized that this guy was almost the same as Li Yinzhou. They were both idiots. The only difference was that this guy was braver than Li Yinzhou. He dared to think, do, and take risks. Li Yinzhou, on the other hand, was good at talking. This guy still had the mood to pick up girls at a time like this. It would be strange if he was in the mood to talk to him. We're leaving early tomorrow morning. Let's sleep. Xiao Pingan said to Yin Duo before returning to his room to rest. He really wasn't in the mood to make friends tonight. Early the next morning, after waking up, washing up, and having breakfast in the barracks, Xiao Pingan saw the other 52 people. Just as Yin Duo had said, there were indeed women. Among the 54 summoners participating in the Skyminder plan in the Fire Country, there were 8 female summoners. None of them were ugly. Not only were they not ugly, but they were also very beautiful. All of them were as good-looking as Qing and Feng Lingshan. 2 of them even stunned Xiao Pingan. Not only that, none of these summoners were weak. All of them were at the 2nd realm or above. After breakfast, it was 8:30 a.m. Li Chongyang, the most powerful person in the Great Yin Republic, came to the barracks and said goodbye to everyone. They had seen this person many times on the media and radio, but this was the first time they had seen him up close. As a summoner and the most powerful person in the country, Li Chongyang had a powerful aura. He was awe-inspiring without being angry and inexplicably gave people confidence. This is a tragedy for all of us. In the past few months, the Fire Country has suffered a catastrophe. Countless cities, villages, and people's homes have been destroyed by the space invasion. More than 100 million people have been killed in the country. Even now, those monsters are still wreaking havoc on our land. Every day, people die, and the war has never stopped. Li Chongyang glanced at the 54 faces. His deep voice resounded in Xia Pingan's ears. This war has been going on for countless years. It started with our ancestors and has continued until now. If there is a chance to end this disaster and save our descendants from such fear, even if there is only a 1% chance, we will try. We will never give up. You are the most outstanding children of the Fire Country, the elites of the human race, the true warriors, and the most powerful summoners among your peers. You are the hope of this country and the hope of this world. I hope that all of you can return safely, but I also know that the chances of survival are slim. Perhaps you won't be able to return, just like my son. He was part of the 3rd batch of people to enter the Skyminder plan, and he sacrificed himself over there. I can't promise you anything, But the only thing I can promise you is that as long as the space invasion continues, and as long as that world's Dark Tower is not destroyed, we will continue to fight until we succeed. This bowl of wine is for everyone's sake. Let me offer you a toast. A soldier brought out wine jars, opened them, and poured a bowl of wine for everyone. The wine in the bowl was good wine, and its fragrance filled the air. Li Chongyang raised his head and finished the bowl of wine in his hand. Then he smashed the bowl on the ground and shattered it. The atmosphere of the scene was heroic and surging. Everyone drank the wine and smashed the wine bowl. When the strong wine entered their throats, everyone was burning. The fifth batch of people to enter the Skymender plan of the Great Yin Republic depart. Li Chongyang roared at the end, his eyes bloodshot. Everyone left the barracks and entered the military port. They boarded a 10,000-ton cruiser. After the cruiser sounded its horn a few times, it slowly left the military port. Following the cruiser were 2 destroyers from the Fire Country, 2 nuclear submarines, and an ocean-going comprehensive supply ship. In order to send the 54 people, the Great Fire Country sent a small fleet of battleships. Amidst the sea breeze, the fleet sailed out of the capital's Bay Area. The 2 nuclear submarines were like 2 huge black fish that slowly sank into the water. The 4 ships on the surface of the water directly sailed toward the south. Xiao Pingan stood on the deck of the cruiser and looked at the undulating coastline that was gradually moving away. His thoughts were also undulating like the coastline. That's too stingy. I thought the higher-ups would give each of us 8 or 10 realm pearls. Yin Duo muttered to Xiao Pingan. This fellow. Chapter 152. Only you can think of that. If we die in the process of fusing with the realm bead, where can we find someone else? Xiao Pingan glanced at Yin Duo and said with a smile. Yin Duo had the ability to cheer people up as long as they chatted with him for a while. We can get some divine power realm beads that don't have much risk for everyone. Yin Duo spread his hands. Even if each person is 10, it's only 5 or 600. To the Fire Country, these realm beads are nothing. These realm beads are indeed nothing. It's just that it should be easier to get them when we go there in the future. And the realm beads here will become more and more precious and rare in the next 18 years. Xiao Pingan patted the steel railing beside him and pointed at the cannons on the cruiser that had taken off its gunnery and the 2 destroyers in the distance. Besides, look at this formation. These weapons are warships and submarines. Are they just decorations? If something unexpected happens during the process of fusing with the realm beads, won't we be waiting for death? Yin Duo also reacted, and his expression changed. You mean the demon eye? If there's no danger along the way, why would we need to use so much force? Any icebreaker can take us to the South Pole. Yin Duo rubbed his face. Now that you mention it, it does make sense. It seems that we have to be more alert along the way. In short, don't be careless. By the way, have you heard the gossip in the capital circle? Yin Duo's expression became serious as he narrowed his eyes. What gossip? Before the last heavenly tribulation, someone in the capital circle was hiding the information that the demon I was secretly collecting and smuggling nuclear fuel and kidnapping nuclear physics scientists. Deliberately hiding it? Xiao Pingan suddenly remembered what Manzijin had said to him and frowned. Why hide it on purpose? It's very simple. The demon I obtained nuclear fuel and kidnapped nuclear physicists. The greatest possibility is to use it to engage in terrorist activities or create demon spirits. To some politicians, it doesn't matter what the demon eye does. What's important is that if this news gets out, the Committee of Order and Summoners will definitely expand in order to deal with the threat posed by the demon eye. Because only summoners can deal with the demon eye, some people don't want to see the influence and power of summoners and the Committee of Order increase, so they deal with this matter coldly. Old Master and Li Chongyang are both summoners. The reason why they were able to rise to power this time is also the result of the power struggle in the capital circle. Some people and some factions that suppressed and restricted the summoners have been completely purged. Yin Duo replied with a look of resentment on his face. It's those people who suppressed the demon suppression guards in the provinces and made the demon suppression guards only have a temporary establishment. Once the crisis passes, they have to be withdrawn immediately. Damn it, those politicians are really useless. They're just afraid that the summoners won't be easy to control. If it weren't for them, the last demon spirit wave wouldn't have caused such serious consequences. Xiao Pingon looked at the Capital Bay area in the distance, which was gradually disappearing into the sea fog. He sighed softly in his heart, and a doubt in his heart was resolved. There were not many people in the vortex of power in the past dynasties who were clean. This time, the summoners of the Fire Country walked to the middle of this stage again. Perhaps it was the result of things going in the opposite direction when they reached an extreme, and it was also the result of history's choice. Who knew what would happen in the end? Say, if we really destroy the Dark Tower over there and completely end the space invasion, since there are no more demons or space invasion, doesn't it mean that the generation of summoners on this planet will also come to an end? We won't be so important in the future. This time, from another perspective, we're a group of summoners who are prepared to risk their lives to end the generation of summoners on this planet. Do you still want to go? Xiao Pingon asked Yin Duo a question. Yin Duo was stunned. He didn't expect Xiao Pingon's question to be so profound. He scratched his head. Damn it, of course we're going. No matter what happens in the future, we have to go now. Yeah, we have to go now. Do you know why we have to go? Why do we have to go? Xiao Pingon said very seriously. Because it's worth it. Well said. The Great Fire Country may have some problems, but we're not politicians. We're willing to go because it's worth it. A voice came from behind. Xiao Pingon and Yin Duo turned around and saw an unbelievably beautiful woman walking over from behind. This woman was one of the summoners who stunned even Xiao Pingon. If Enching's appearance and temperament were to be given 80 points, this woman's appearance and temperament would be over 90 points. She was really too outstanding. This was a woman with a magnet on her body. She was elegant and graceful. Her smooth and white face flashed with a jade-like luster. Her dark and deep eyes carried a trace of cold arrogance. She had a temperament that blended with passion and vitality. Her beautiful eyebrows, tall nose, seductive lips, and every part of her body was just right, making her unforgettable. No matter where such a woman went, she would attract the attention of the surrounding males. Hello, I'm Jiang Duo. The woman smiled at Xiao Pingon and Yin Duo before looking at Xiao Pingon with sparkling eyes. I heard that you're summoners from Izhou province. Ha, that's right. We're both from Izhou province. I'm Yin Duo, and this is my friend Xiao Pingon. Yin Duo shook his head and revealed a charming smile. You're Xiao Pingon? The woman's bright eyes fell on Xiao Pingon. I heard that you've mastered the skills of Requiem Banner, Pharmacist, and Holy Text at the same time. Please give me your guidance in the future. Before Xiao Pingon could say anything, a voice came from the side. It's just Requiem Banner, Pharmacist, and Holy Text. There should be a lot of people among us who have mastered these 3 skills. Some of them have even mastered the skills of Forging Master. A man with a buzz cut, a cold expression, and a faint scar on the left side of his face walked over. He looked at Xiao Pingon and Yin Duo before looking at Jiang Duo with a confident smile. Hello, I'm Wu Zhanfeng. Other than Requiem Banner, Pharmacist, and Holy Text, I've also mastered the skills of Forging Master. If you're looking for a partner from another world, I think I should be qualified. The 2 of us would be more suitable. This man was overbearing. The moment he opened his mouth, he treated Xiao Pingon and Yin Duo as if they were air. The others on the deck also looked over. Chapter 153. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, and in front of such a beautiful woman, there was actually someone who dared to step on him and Xiao Pingon to get close to a beautiful woman. Yin Duo had always been a daring and restless person, not to mention at a time like this. Seeing that Wu Zhanfeng was being so arrogant, the anger in Yin Duo's heart suddenly flared up. Before Xiao Pingon could speak, Yin Duo had already opened his mouth. He coldly glanced at Wu Zhanfeng and flipped his head of white hair. His eyes were full of disdain, and the words he said were enough to make one's blood pressure rise. He was 10 times more arrogant than Wu Zhanfeng. Wu Zhanfeng, where did this guy come from? Your name is quite good, but I've never heard of it before. Your words just now were really like a toad yawning. What a big tone. At the same time, your ambition is not small either. How about this? Seeing that we are comrades in the same trench, I'll forgive your ignorance and rudeness, and won't make things difficult for you. Yin Duo picked his ear and said, just now I was discussing with Xia Pingan whether or not we should take in a little brother when we get there. I think you're not bad and have a little bit of strength, so I'll take you in as a little brother. If you apologize to us now, then obediently call Xia Pingan big brother and me second brother, and obediently listen to us in the future, then we'll forget about it. In the future, when we get there, the two of us will protect you. You don't have to worry about not being able to make a living over there. You don't have to be in a hurry to find a partner here. Living off a woman isn't something to be proud of. Yin Duo was a little too mean. The tone of his words showed that he was treating Wu Zhanfeng as a toad. His tone was arrogant, and he wanted to eat swan meat. The people here weren't smart people. When they heard Yin Duo's words, some of the women in the crowd couldn't help but laugh out loud. As for Xia Pingan, who understood Yin Duo's character, when Yin Duo opened his mouth, he knew that Yin Duo was trying to goad Wu Zhanfeng. He was digging a hole for him. As expected, hearing Yin Duo's words and looking at Yin Duo's annoying look, I became furious at once. His eyes flickered as he revealed a smile. What a coincidence. I've also thought of recruiting 2 more younger brothers. Since we're comrades in arms, if you apologize to me and call me elder brother, I will forgive your ignorance and recruit you as my younger brothers. Wind Eye's eyes flickered as he said with a smile. Wu Zhanfeng was indeed arrogant. The moment he opened his mouth, he wanted to challenge Xia Pingan and Yin Duo by himself. He wanted to suppress the two of them. It seems like we have to compete. If it's just the two of us shooting our mouths off here, we won't be able to determine the winner even if we shoot our mouths through this planet. Instead, we'll just become a joke to everyone. We're all men. If you have 1/10 of your guts, do you dare to bet with us? How do we bet? Wu Zhanfeng asked coldly. A thought flashed through Wu Zhanfeng's mind. He also felt that Yin Duo was trying to provoke him, but how could he back down at a time like this? Moreover, Wu Zhanfeng was very confident in his own strength. He wanted to hear what tricks Yin Duo had up his sleeves. Yin Duo looked at the onlookers around him and smiled. Since we're comrades in arms, and the mission has just begun, there's no point in us fighting to the death. Moreover, it will affect the mission. I see that the deck of the warship is spacious enough. How about this? Let's follow the tradition of summoners and have a duel. Let's treat it as a cheer for everyone here. You summon 3 slave soldiers, and Xia Pingan summons 3 slave soldiers. We'll have a duel on this deck. If you win, Xia Pingan and I will call you elder brother and be your subordinates without complaint. Do you dare? Hearing Yin Duo's words, the surrounding summoners and Jiang Duo who had just spoken, nodded secretly in their hearts. They felt that this Yin Duo was indeed sensible. A duel between summoners was indeed more civilized than a martial artist's. It was indeed a summoner's tradition to duel with slave soldiers. Slave soldiers were relatively basic characters that summoners could summon. They didn't consume much divine power, and the attributes of slave soldiers were different. Their combat strength was also somewhat different. A duel between slave soldiers was actually a duel between the summoner's individual strength. It could be considered to be a duel between the summoners. This was not bad. Everyone's interest was piqued by Yin Duo's words. Even some of the soldiers on the deck of the cruiser curiously gathered around. To those soldiers, summoners had always been a mysterious group. There weren't many opportunities to see a duel between summoners. That's it. Wu Zhanfeng laughed wildly in his heart. He thought that Yin Duo would set a trap for him. Using slave soldiers for a duel was exactly what he wanted. Slave soldiers were his forte. The ones he summoned were elite slave soldiers. Moreover, after he mastered the Holy Pro's skill, the attributes of the slave soldiers he summoned had increased. To put it this way, Wu Zhanfeng had never seen a slave soldier summoned by a summoner that was stronger than the one he summoned. Yin Duo's suggestion actually just happened to hit the muzzle of his gun. Wu Zhanfeng's heart was filled with confidence. Haha, since the two of you want to be my underlings in front of beauty and let me show off, then don't blame me for being impolite. Wu Zhanfeng licked his lips and rubbed his palms together. The deck in front of the main cannon of the cruiser was very spacious. It was several times more spacious than the arena in the octagonal cage. When they heard that the two of them were going to use slave soldiers for a duel, the surrounding summoners dispersed and gave up the front deck. Xiao Pingan was also speechless as he looked at Yin Duo. This guy, Yin Duo, was too good at digging a pit. He had fought side by side with Yin Duo so many times. Yin Duo was very clear about the combat strength of the elite slave soldiers he summoned. This guy, Yin Duo, had even joked that the combat strength of the elite slave soldiers he summoned was almost at the peak. He had traveled extensively and had never seen a slave soldier stronger than the elite slave soldiers he summoned. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, this guy would use his own elite slave soldiers to dig a big pit for Wu Zhanfeng to jump into? Yin Duo winked at Xiao Pingan, meaning, "Brother, the rest is up to you." Wu Zhanfeng waved his hand, and 3 elite slave soldiers, emitting a faint red light, appeared on the deck. Elite slave soldiers. Some of the surrounding summoners uttered in astonishment. Although the combat power of elite slave soldiers wasn't considered strong, and many summoners had more powerful summon figures, there weren't many summoners who could summon elite slave soldiers in the group of summoners. "Your turn." Wu Zhanfeng raised his chin and said to Xiao Pingan. Xiao Pingan looked at the elite slave soldiers summoned by Wu Zhanfeng and shook his head inwardly. The elite slave soldiers summoned by Wu Zhanfeng might be good in the eyes of others, but for Xiao Pingan, who was familiar with elite slave soldiers, he could feel that the eyes of the 3 elite slave soldiers summoned by Wu Zhanfeng were not as lively as the eyes of his own elite slave soldiers. Their auras were also a bit weaker. This should be because there was still a slight gap between their combat strength and intelligence. Xiao Pingan waved his hand and summoned 3 elite slave soldiers as well. Following the appearance of Xiao Pingan's elite slave soldiers, the crowd on the deck quieted down at once. "Everyone here is the referee. Let's begin." Yin Duo looked at the confident Wu Zhanfeng and said loudly. He couldn't wait to see the expression on Wu Zhanfeng's face at the end of the bet. "Ha ha, just thinking about it makes me feel good." With a thought from Xiao Pingan and Wu Zhanfeng, the 3 slave soldiers they summoned quickly arrived at the center of the deck. They got into a battle stance and locked onto the 3 enemy slave soldiers in an instant. Elite slave soldiers all had javelins, but in this kind of close combat, javelins were useless. All the elite slave soldiers used the long spears in their hands. The slave soldiers from both sides lined up in a triangular battle formation. One person charged forward, while the other 2 stayed behind. The elite slave soldiers lowered their bodies and half-squatted. The long spears in their hands were pointed forward, and their feet were moving bit by bit towards their opponents. As the long spears collided in the air, the battle between the 6 slave soldiers began. In the beginning, the 6 slave soldiers were like 2 armies fighting against each other. 6 long spears were thrusting and blocking each other's attacks. The 6 long spears clanged against each other on the deck. It was a very intense battle. As the long spears of both sides collided, they were also looking for the opponent's weakness. However, this kind of battle didn't last for too long. Soon, a slave soldier on Xiao Pingan's side fiercely rushed forward and lowered his body. At the same time, he dodged 3 long spears. At the same time, the long spear in his hand didn't thrust forward anymore. Instead, it thrust downwards. When he pulled back, the head of the long spear directly hooked the heel of the elite slave soldier at the front of the 3 elite slave soldiers summoned by Wu Zhanfeng, causing a large hole to appear on the heel of that elite slave soldier. At the same time, that elite slave soldier's body involuntarily fell forward onto the deck. In this kind of battle, a single mistake meant defeat. Almost at the same time that the elite slave soldier summoned by Wu Zhanfeng, was hooked onto the ground by the long spear. The long spears in the hands of two of Xia Pinggan's elite slave soldiers had already pierced into the body of the fallen elite slave soldier. The fallen elite slave soldier instantly turned into light spots and dissipated. The other two elite slave soldiers summoned by Wu Zhanfeng angrily counterattacked. At the same time, one of them rushed forward and stabbed out with two long spears. When Xia Pinggan's elite slave soldier had hooked onto the enemy's slave soldier, he had already dropped the long spear in his hand and took the initiative to rush towards the remaining two slave soldiers on Wu Zhanfeng's side. When the two slave soldiers' long spears stabbed towards him, that elite slave soldier on Xia Pinggan's side fiercely clamped one of the long spears with both hands and under his armpit, causing his body to be pierced by the other long spear. That split second of opportunity was enough. When that elite slave soldier on Xia Pinggan's side turned into light spots and dissipated, the body of that slave soldier on Wu Zhanfeng's side was also pierced by the long spears of the other two slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pinggan, turning into light spots and dissipating. The situation on the deck instantly became 2-1. One halberd against two halberds was simply impossible to deal with. Xia Pinggan's remaining two slave soldiers simultaneously thrust forward. The last elite slave soldier, summoned by Wu Zhanfeng, blocked the other halberd, but its body was also pierced through by the other halberd. It turned into specks of light and dissipated. The close combat between the elite slave soldiers was exceptionally fierce and swift. Very soon, the outcome of the battle had been decided. The deck was completely silent. Chapter 154. The elite slave soldier summoned by Wu Zhanfeng was indeed very strong. However, the elite slave soldier summoned by Xia Pinggan was even stronger. It was this slight difference that had led to the final outcome. The final result of the 3 versus 3 battle was revealed. Only one of Xia Pinggan's slave soldiers had died, while all of Wu Zhanfeng's slave soldiers had died. Wu Zhanfeng's face alternated between green and white. He clenched his fists tightly, and his entire body trembled slightly. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have dared to believe that the elite slave soldier he summoned had actually lost. Among the attributes of the elite slave soldier he summoned, its force was 16 points, and its intelligence was increased by 3 divine runes, making it 52 points. Among the slave soldiers, these values were practically the highest. He had never seen a slave soldier with higher attributes than his elite slave soldier. He didn't expect that he would actually lose. And under the watchful eyes of so many people, could it be that the basic attributes of the elite slave soldier, summoned by Xia Pinggan, were higher than his own? Yin Duo looked at Wu Zhanfeng's changing expression, and the corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile. He casually said from the side, "If some people can't afford to lose and want to renege on their debt, then feel free to do so. We've seen many of these kinds of people. We'll just treat it as a fart and let him go. If some people still think that they're men and still honor their words, then come over and call us big brother and second brother. From now on, we'll all be good brothers." Everyone's gaze was fixed on Wu Zhanfeng's face. Wu Zhanfeng's face had completely stiffened. He walked forward mechanically, and his joints seemed to have rusted. Step by step, he walked in front of Xia Pinggan and Yin Duo. His lips opened and closed a few times, and finally, he gritted his teeth and closed his eyes. For words came out of his mouth, big brother, second brother. With just 4 words, Wu Zhanfeng's forehead was covered in sweat. His entire person didn't look good. Yin Duo laughed heartily and patted Wu Zhanfeng's shoulder heavily. "Third brother, don't worry. In the future, big brother and second brother will protect you. When you get there, if anyone bullies you, just report our names." Xia Pinggan glanced at Yin Duo, indicating that Yin Duo should stop before going too far. He smiled and said to Wu Zhanfeng, "As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. Yin Duo said something right just now. Everyone will be comrades in arms in the future, so we should work together. Just now it was just a spar. Yin Duo was joking with you, so don't take it to heart." Wu Zhanfeng glanced at Xia Pingan and gritted his teeth. You don't have to comfort me. I, Wu Zhanfeng, am not someone who can't afford to lose. If I lose, I lose. I'll accept any result. Ahem. Third brother, how can you talk to your big brother like that? You're too rude. Do you know what it means to respect your elders? Yin Duo said seriously. Wu Zhanfeng panted heavily. Without saying a word, he turned his head and left the deck. The wind is strong at sea. Let's go back too. Xiao Pingan laughed and left the deck with Yin Duo, returning to his cabin. The commotion was over. The wind was indeed strong at sea, so the others also dispersed. This small disturbance on the deck had come to an end. However, the names of Xiao Pingan, Yin Duo, and Wu Zhanfeng were known by everyone in an instant. The interior of this 10,000-ton cruiser's hull was still quite spacious. The summoners who boarded the ship were all given preferential treatment. They were all allocated a small, independent cabin. In the cabin, there was only a bed and a table. The bed and table were both connected to the hull of the ship. Yin Duo's and Xia Pingan's cabins were next to each other. The two of them went directly to Xia Pingan's cabin. After closing the cabin door, Yin Duo looked around the cabin before opening his mouth again and saying in a cynical tone, Our third brother's strength is not bad. He's brave and smart enough. It's just that he's too impatient or too confident. There are 54 of us, so it's not his turn to jump out and be the class monitor. He wants to use the method of stepping on others to establish his position. This method is actually good. It's simple, violent, and effective. It's just that he didn't expect to step on a landmine and blow himself up. Third brother's luck is really bad. Fighting for a woman's favor? That's what children do. Wu Zhanfeng just wanted to use Jiang Duo as an excuse and the fresh flowers to confirm his position as the alpha wolf among the 54 summoners in the Fire Country. He wanted to take on the role of the leader. It was just that Wu Zhanfeng didn't expect that he would meet Yin Duo, this troublemaker, and Xiao Pingan, this landmine. He really suffered a double loss in front of everyone. He didn't manage to become a leader, and he even inexplicably gained 2 more big brothers, becoming the third brother. It was really sullen. It's not just Wu Zhanfeng. That Jiang Duo isn't easy to deal with either, Xiao Pingan said softly. That woman already saw that Wu Zhanfeng was paying attention to her and was eager to try. She deliberately approached us to talk to us. Yin Duo was shocked. He really didn't see that. You're saying that Jiang Duo started it? Xiao Pingan shook his head. She might not have deliberately started it. She just wanted to take the opportunity to see everyone's strength. At the same time, she wanted to choose partners to cooperate with after entering the other side. Without experiencing things, how can you tell a person's ability and character? Yin Duo smacked his lips. That woman is really ruthless. She threw herself out as bait. She even dared to sign up for such a dangerous mission, let alone use herself as bait. Which woman who can accomplish things simply rely on her beauty to pass through unhindered? Actually, you could have fought for what Wu Zhanfeng wanted. You just needed to make him lower his head. Yin Duo felt that it was a pity. Xiao Pingan was too lenient just now. None of the people who can participate in the Patching Heaven plan are simple. What Wu Zhanfeng wants to fight for is meaningless to me. Perhaps he wants everyone to work together after we reach the other side to increase our strength. However, my thoughts are the opposite of his. We can only have a chance if we separate and find our own opportunities. We have to make different choices as much as possible. Yin Duo asked, You're worried that although our strength will increase if we work together, at the same time, our chances will decrease and the risk will increase? Xiao Pingan nodded. After the small disturbance on the deck, the warship regained its peace. The space for movement on the warship was very limited. Other than the cabins where they slept, the only places the summoners could move around were the front and back decks, the dining area, the bathroom, and a multi-purpose entertainment room. In the multi-purpose entertainment room, there were a few game consoles and a table tennis table. That was where the officers and soldiers of the warship entertained themselves. Compared to the multi-purpose entertainment room, the summoner's own secret mandala was much more interesting. Other than the 3 meals a day, Xia Pingan and the others would either stay in their cabins or enjoy the scenery on the deck. As for the scenery on the sea, once it lost its novelty, it would become boring. After a few days of relative tranquility, on the 5th day, the weather started to deteriorate. The wind and waves on the sea became steeper and steeper. The 10,000-ton cruiser started to rise and fall on the sea. The mountain-like huge waves slapped towards it one after another. The bow of the battleship was like a huge iron axe, which split the huge waves and penetrated through the huge waves. At this time, being on the warship was like riding a roller coaster every second. There wasn't a second of peace under your feet. The huge hull of the warship was jolting and swaying every second. It was either to the left or to the right. It was either pressed down by the huge waves or lifted up by the huge waves. Except for those experienced Marines, almost no one could stand firmly on the warship. They had to tie themselves to the bed to sleep. Even when they were sleeping, they could still hear the teeth-numbing sound of the huge waves crashing against the steel. In front of the mighty power of nature and heaven and earth, even a 10,000-ton warship was like a small boat, a small toy being manipulated by the sea. Under such circumstances, even Xia Pingan vomited. Many summoners were seasick and vomited until they were dizzy. This was the first time Xia Pingan's body had experienced such a scene. Even as a summoner, the physiological operation of the body needed time to adapt. Not only humans, but even the rats on the warship couldn't stand the jolting. Xia Pingan saw with his own eyes that a rat ran out of the cabin to the deck and jumped into the sea to commit suicide without hesitation. Yin Duo, on the other hand, was fine. In his words, he had already experienced such a scene before, and his body had already adapted to it. After that day, Wu Zhanfeng rarely appeared in public. He deliberately avoided Xia Pingan and Yin Duo. Even if they occasionally met in the restaurant, Wu Zhanfeng's expression was very stiff. On the other hand, there was news coming from the country of Great Flame every day. The news that came was all about a certain province or city being recovered. Under such jolting, the temperature on the sea became colder and colder, and the fleet gradually approached the South Pole. Chapter 155. Everyone split into 2 teams. Those staying in odd cabins will go to the left. Those staying in even cabins will go to the right. Each team has 27 people. Get on a submarine. The officers on the cruiser shouted loudly on the deck, directing Xia Pingan and the others to leave the ship. The cruiser stopped on the surface of the sea. The other 2 destroyers and supply ships also stopped. The 2 nuclear submarines that hadn't shown themselves before also emerged from the water. After a long voyage and a few days of extremely bad weather, the fleet finally arrived at the southernmost part of the southern light continent. This place was close to the Antarctic Circle. The sea was calm, and there was a thin layer of fog around them. Through the fog, they could already see some large and small pieces of ice floating in the distant sea. The ships on the surface could no longer continue forward. Xia Pingan and the others began to transfer to the nuclear submarines to enter the Antarctic Circle. No one knew where the base was located in the Antarctic. Xia Pingan and the others only knew that they could only enter the base by taking a submarine. The base seemed to be under the ice. The reason why they had taken the surface ships before was because the space inside the nuclear submarines was limited and couldn't provide a comfortable living environment. Thus, the fleet had to take turns here. The people staying in different cabins got off the cruiser from both sides. Then, they took the small boats driven by the sailors and waited for the 2 large black fish not far away. "Third brother, long time no see. Have you gotten used to the boat?" Yin Duo saw Wu Zhanfeng again and even joked with him with a smile. Wu Zhanfeng's face was ugly. He only snorted and got off the ship from the other side. Not being with Xia Pingan and Yin Duo seemed to have relaxed Wu Zhanfeng quite a bit. On the other side, Xia Pingan and Yin Duo also got off the ship and boarded a small boat. The small boat sailed on the surface of the sea for more than 100 meters and came to the side of a large black fish. The sailors on the small boat threw out ropes. which were caught by the sailors on the large black fish. They pulled the small boat over and lowered a ladder from boat. The people on the small boat climbed up the ladder to the submarine. Each boat could hold 12 people. 3 boats were enough to send Xia Pingon and the others to the big black fish. The captain of a nuclear submarine and several officers lined up to welcome the arrival of Xia Pingon and the others. They saluted and shook hands with every summoner who boarded the submarine. The captain of Xia Pingon's ship was a 50-year-old Marine colonel with a long beard and bright eyes. Hello, everyone. I am the captain of the 711 submarine, Lin Yujun. Welcome to the 711 submarine. My crew and I will send everyone safely to the base. The space inside the submarine is limited, so I hope everyone can overcome it. Everyone nodded in agreement. After that, everyone entered the submarine in a single file. After everyone had entered, the submarine dived from the surface of the sea to the bottom. Compared to a cruiser, the interior of a submarine was much narrower. Moreover, it was filled with various professional instruments and equipment. Silence was the first requirement in a submarine. The floor of the submarine was covered with a thick layer of rubber, sound-absorbing pads. It was silent when one walked on it. Lin Yujun first showed everyone around the submarine and told them about the rules and space to move around in the submarine. Then, he took everyone to their resting place. The few women were assigned to a small cabin alone, which was considered preferential treatment. As for the other men, they could only squeeze into the crowded cabins on both sides of the submarine aisle. The places where everyone slept were like drawers and cans. Each bed was only about 50 centimeters wide and 40 centimeters tall. The length was just enough for a person to lie down, and they had to lie sideways to lie down. The space was as high as the bunk beds on a train. It was divided into 4 layers from top to bottom. If 4 people slept on the beds, they couldn't even sit up straight. No one complained because everyone saw that in order to make room, many crew members had to sleep among the torpedoes in the fish warehouse, squeezed together with a pile of torpedoes and pipes. The advantage of a submarine sailing underwater was that it didn't have the same bumps as on a battleship. However, the disadvantage was that people in the submarine knew nothing about what was happening outside. The submarine was very quiet while sailing. Besides the dark red lights, they could barely hear any abnormal sounds inside the submarine. In such an environment, a group of people huddled together. They either slept, listened to music on their headphones, or read books. Other than that, there was nothing else to do. We'll arrive at the base soon. There shouldn't be any trouble on the way, Yin Duo said to Xia Pingon. I hope so. Xia Pingon was lying on his narrow bed as he closed his eyes and rested. We shouldn't be too far away from the base. We might arrive after a nap. 5 hours later, the red light in the submarine started to flash. Captain Lin Yojuan's voice could be heard everywhere in the submarine. Enemy detected. Everyone, level 1 combat readiness. This voice also alarmed Xia Pingon and the others. The atmosphere in the submarine suddenly became tense. A group of summoners immediately jumped off their beds and entered the command room. This command room was almost the most spacious place in the submarine. A group of officers and soldiers were sitting in front of their respective instruments. Jiang Duo, and a few female summoners also came. Captain, what's going on? Yin Duo asked directly. We found many sonar buoys in the sea outside. Lin Yujun looked solemn as he stared at a waveform display in the command room. The seabed in the South Pole is close to the Southern Light Continent. It's the usual activity area of our fire country submarines. It's our sphere of influence. We have an agreement with the navies of other countries that forbids the placement of sonar buoys in the sea around the South Pole. Sonar buoys were buoy-type sonar equipment used to detect underwater targets. It was a type of underwater acoustic remote sensing detector. It was also an anti-submarine equipment. Sonar soldier, did you find any suspicious targets? Lin Yujun looked at a crew member wearing headphones who was concentrating on a monitor in front of him with both hands on his headphones. There's a blue whale and a few groups of scaled shrimp in the nearby sea area. No other targets. The sonar soldier immediately turned around and reported. Lin Yujun frowned slightly. Activate the blue-green laser scanning. The officers and soldiers in the command room immediately started to operate. There are a few huge floating ice and icebergs in the nearby sea area. No other submarines. The blue-green laser scanning image of the seabed appeared on a huge display in the command room. The display outlined the underwater outlines of a few icebergs and floating ice on the nearby sea area. There were also the coordinates of a few sonar buoys, but nothing else was found. Jiang Duo had her eyes closed ever since she came here. It was only now that she suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Lin Yujun. Captain, in 3 minutes, we will be attacked by a suicidal submarine. Lin Yujun shuddered and looked at Jiang Duo. I have a level of remote sensing ability. My ability allows me to sense the arrival of danger in advance. I just sense that we will be in danger in 3 minutes. There's a small submarine hiding in the crevice under the iceberg, avoiding our detection. Jiang Duo said as she pointed at the outline of an iceberg outlined by the blue-green laser. A level of remote sensing ability? Xiaopinggan glanced at Jiang Duo. This woman's trump card was too strong. It turned out that a level of remote sensing ability had the ability to predict. Can you sense the specific coordinates of the underwater vehicle? Lin Yujun asked. Yes. Jiang Duo nodded. Half a minute later, the two submarines each shot out 2 torpedoes. The 4 torpedoes flew toward the target like 4 sharp arrows shot from underwater. Xiaopinggan used his remote sensing ability to chase after the torpedoes. Sure enough, he saw a small submarine more than 10 meters long hidden in the crevice of the iceberg. 4 torpedoes exploded near the submersible, causing the iceberg to shake. 1 torpedo exploded 10 meters away from the submersible. The huge power of the explosion directly blew the submersible into 2 pieces, completely shattering it. The submersible then sunk into the sea. In the command room, Jiang Duo opened her eyes again. I need a fragment of that small submarine. Any fragment will do. I can find the controller behind it through the fragment. After a short while, the 2 water ghosts on the submarines were directly launched out of the torpedo tubes. A few minutes later, the 2 water ghosts returned from the torpedo tubes, each bringing back a piece of debris from a small submarine in the sea outside. Jiang Duo held the fragment and closed her eyes. Half a minute later, she opened her eyes again. It's the demon eye. The demon eye has 2 strongholds on the ground in the Antarctic Circle. One stronghold is more than 300 kilometers away, and the other is more than 1,100 kilometers away. These are the latitude and longitude coordinates of the 2 strongholds, submarine's surface. Killing intent flashed in Lin Yujun's eyes as he ordered. A moment later, the 2 submarines broke through the ice on the surface of the sea and revealed their ferocious figures. The missile launch ports of the submarines opened, and each submarine launched 6 hypersonic cruise missiles. A total of 12 missiles flew toward the target at a speed of more than Mach 6 with flames. In the command room of the submarine, everyone saw the 2 targets through the satellite surveillance images. The closest stronghold of the demon eye was on a snowy mountain 300 kilometers away. The stronghold was surrounded by more than 10 heavy snowmobiles. Outside the snowmobiles, there was a circle of white snow camouflage, and a few tall, snow-white antennas combed the ground in the middle of the stronghold. The demon eye stronghold farther away was in a small valley more than 1,100 kilometers away. In addition to more than 20 heavy snowmobiles, this stronghold had also built some temporary houses. Some people were working in the valley and digging into the mountain, seemingly wanting to dig out a space in the mountain. In order not to alert the enemy, the 12 hypersonic cruise missiles launched at the same time hit the 2 strongholds of the demon eye that were 300 kilometers away and 1,100 kilometers away at the same time. The 12 missiles carried powerful combat units. One of the missiles drilled directly into the cave in the small valley more than 1,100 kilometers away. White light flashed, and the rapidly expanding explosive shock wave enveloped everything in the 2 strongholds. By the time everything dissipated, the 2 strongholds had completely changed, as though they had been completely erased from the ground. Around the strongholds, there was no sign of life except for the fragments of the heavy snowmobiles. The two submarines dove again and returned to the sea. A day later, the two submarines finally arrived at the mysterious Antarctic base that could enter another world. Chapter 156. So this is the South Pole base. Xiao Pingan exited the submarine and looked up at the giant dome above his head. He could not help but exclaim in his heart, "So big." This base was built in the belly of a mountain somewhere in the South Pole. The two nuclear submarines that had brought Xiao Pingan and the others here were parked quietly at the submarine dock in the belly of the mountain. Only submarines could dive up from the sea at the dock. There were no entrances or exits at all. The submarine berths at the dock were more than 500 meters long. A simple count would show that 8 nuclear submarines could be docked here at once. There was a giant dome above the dock. Gentle artificial sunlight shone down from the dome, making the entire dock look like it was daytime. Directly opposite the dock were the words Skyminder Base cast in steel. 2 rows of armed soldiers in snow camouflage stood at the edge of the dock. A soldier in his 60s wearing a general's uniform stood at the dock like a javelin, welcoming the arrival of Xiao Pingan and the others. 54 summoners from the Fire Country participating in the Skyminder project came down from the submarines one after another and stood in front of the general. "Welcome everyone to Skyminder Base. I am the person in charge of Skyminder Base, Zhang Yuzhong." The general spoke calmly and cut straight to the point. "Let me explain the following arrangements. I will take you on a tour of Skyminder Base later. After the tour, each of you will be given a room. Tonight, Skyminder Base will hold a welcome banquet for all of you. You can relax and rest in the base today. From tomorrow onwards, you will need to study in the base for 2 days before entering the other world to understand the relevant information about the other world. 3 days later, the 54 of you will be divided into 2 groups and enter the other world through a spatial rift to officially begin your mission. Does anyone have any questions?" Jiang Duoer spoke up. "Won't the other 54 people from the east enter the other world with us? They will arrive at Skyminder Base in 10 days and enter after you in batches. If we enter in batches, how will we differentiate between our comrades and the people who enter before us?" Another summoner asked. "Everyone who participates in Operation Mend the Heavens will be given a set of communication methods and secret signals after entering the other world. You will learn these in the course in 2 days." Hearing this, Xiao Pingan nodded inwardly. The heaven-mending plan was indeed thorough, just as he had expected. They were the 5th batch of participants in the heaven-mending plan. After entering the other side, if they met the previous participants, there would definitely be a way to identify them. "General, can I ask you a question? How was the spatial rift leading to the other world discovered?" Someone else asked. "It's information provided by the Oracle." Oracle? Xiao Pingan and Xiao Pingan looked at each other. Xiao Pingan thought to himself, just as I thought. After the 3 questions, no one spoke again. Any other questions? General Zhang Yuzhong's gaze swept across everyone. Seeing that no one had any more questions, he nodded. "If you have any more questions, you can ask your teachers in the next 2 days of class. If there are no more questions, I'll take you on a tour of Skyminder Base." Skyminder Base was huge. It was built according to the standards of Doomsday Bunker in the South Pole. The entire base was built in the belly of the mountain under the glacier. Outside was the ice and snow of the Antarctic continent. The wind and snow held all year round. In a year, half of the year was polar night, and the other half was polar day. The surrounding thousands of miles was basically a no-man's land. On the ground, there were almost no other animals except penguins, seals, and a small number of Antarctic wolves. The base could accommodate more than 5,000 people. The core area of the base was the teleportation zone where the spatial rift was located. The teleportation zone was heavily guarded and was not open to the public. It was only open during Operation Mend the Heavens. Other than the teleportation zone, there were 3 large areas in the base: the research area, the living area, and the cultivation area. These 3 areas were located in different underground levels. The research area was used to study all kinds of information about the other world. The living area was where everyone in the base lived. Apart from more than 1,000 elite soldiers, the rest were the base's researchers, production staff, and summoners. The cultivation area was mainly the base's underground farm. The underground farm of the base was filled with greenhouses that used soilless cultivation techniques. There were also some chickens, ducks, pigs, and cows in the other greenhouses to provide meat for the base. After touring the base, Xiaopingan could roughly guess what Doomsday Bunker was like. This base was filled with humanity's cutting-edge technological achievements in energy, biology, security, and many other aspects. It was no exaggeration to say that if the surface was completely occupied by magical creatures, the humans living in Doomsday Bunker would be completely self-sufficient. It wouldn't be much of a problem for them to survive for a few hundred years. After touring the base, everyone was assigned a room. They could finally take a break from the bumpy ride on ships and submarines along the way. The welcome banquet in the evening was grand and lively, but it wasn't extravagant. The food and drinks at the banquet were all produced by Doomsday Base. Other than Xiaopingan and the others, there were also summoners, officers, and many researchers from the base who attended the banquet. At this banquet, the female summoners who came with Xiaopingan and the others naturally became the main characters of the banquet. Jiang Duo was especially dazzling. She became the center of everyone's attention as soon as she entered the banquet hall. However, it was strange. Among the female summoners, there was actually a woman called Ming Ruolin. She was also a stunning beauty, comparable to Jiang Duo in terms of looks. However, Ming Ruolin had always been more low-key. She always felt cold and unapproachable. Xiaopingan had never seen that woman take the initiative to talk to anyone. She basically stayed in her room on the ship and rarely came out. She was even absent from tonight's banquet. The next morning, the 54 people who came to the base greeted their first class with curiosity in a classroom in the base. No one knew what the world on the other side of the spatial rift was like. Everyone wanted to know because this was not only related to the success or failure of the mission, but also everyone's life and death. The person who taught everyone was the base's chief researcher, Shuigang. He was in his 60s and had personally participated in the Doomsday Plan. He had wandered around that world twice and returned alive. He was also a senior expert who had stayed at the base for more than 20 years. There was probably no other living person on this planet who knew more about the world on the other side of the spatial rift than he did. There might be gods in that world on the other side. In the class, the first sentence of the base's chief researcher made the entire classroom fall silent. Chapter 157. The classroom was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. It was indeed shocking to hear such word from a professional researcher. I'm a biologist and a naturalist. I've also studied religious studies, anthropology, cryptography, and metaphysics. I can identify the names and species of hundreds of thousands of creatures. I can also complete the gene editing of life in the laboratory. I've received the most rigorous and scientific training. I believe that my understanding of life should be above most people's. I can also be responsible for what I say. The chief researcher of the base raised his black-rimmed glasses and calmly glanced at everyone in the classroom. The reason why I added the word possible in front of the word God is because I respect life and the unknown. In the world on the other side of the spatial rift, everything is unimaginable. Becoming a god, is the highest pursuit of all summoners in that world. Teacher, what did you say? Becoming a god? The highest pursuit of all summoners in that world is becoming a god? Wu Zhanfeng couldn't help but ask. Becoming a god? Becoming a god? Even Xiaopingan felt a huge impact on his soul when he heard this, let alone the others. Yin Duo licked his lips. Jiang Duo's gaze focused on the lecturer immediately. Her eyes flashed. Many of the others in the classroom had their eyes lit up. Their spirits were immediately lifted. Yes, you didn't hear wrong. I didn't say anything wrong either. Every piece of information you've heard about that world was exchanged with the lives and blood of the first few batches of people in the Skyminder plan. This information is also top secret. Only those who participated in the Skyminder plan have access to it. Teacher, what is the status of a summoner after being called a god? A summoner immediately asked. I'm not sure about the specific status, but according to some information, after the summoners over there become gods, they will have an almost endless lifespan. They are close to being immortal and have great power that we can't comprehend. Teacher, how do the summoners over there become gods? Jiang Duo are asked. This is what I'm going to say next. That's what I'm going to talk about next. You're all summoners. Don't you feel that the summoners' level system in our world is very chaotic? Sometimes, it's hard to tell who's strong and who's weak. In our world, there are many ways to divide the summoner's level. Some ways are based on the number of realm pearls a person has fused with. Another way is based on the amount of divine power a summoner has. Another way is based on the number of summoned creatures a summoner can summon. There are also ways to divide the summoner's level based on physical strength, such as the first element realm, second element realm, and so on. Everyone in the classroom was deep in thought. Because the cultivation system of summoners in our world might be incomplete. Xia Pingon said. Everyone's eyes immediately focused on Xia Pingon. Xia Pingon's expression was as calm as usual. Our realm beads all came from the magical creatures that invaded the space. However, those magical creatures shouldn't be the original source of the realm beads. Those realm beads couldn't have been bred by those magical creatures. They just happened to bring the realm beads to our world. Those magical creatures only brought a part of the things from that world over. The part we obtained isn't the entire power system of summoners. The chief researcher of the base looked at Xia Pingon with admiration and nodded. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's precisely because the cultivation system of summoners in our world is incomplete and lacks many key cultivation resources that there are so many differences and disputes about the division of summoners' ranks and power system. In that world, the hierarchy of summoners is strict and there is no dispute. The strongest power and existence in that world is the god. That is the peak that summoners pursue. Below the god, summoners are divided into 10 ranks. Speaking of this, the chief researcher of the base turned around and pressed the button on the slide in his hand. An image appeared on the laser monitor in the classroom. The name of the image was The Division of Summoners' Ranks. The image used a pyramid structure to clearly show the ranks of summoners. In the image, the division of summoners' ranks was clear at a glance. At the top of the pyramid was the god with the tallest and largest body. He held a scepter in his hand and sat on a high throne at the top of the pyramid. Below the god was the demigod with a slightly smaller body and held a scepter. Below the demigod, summoners' ranks were from the 9-sun realm, the 8-sun realm, the 7-sun realm. The lowest level of the pyramid was the single-sun realm. Below the single-sun realm, there was a large group of people holding up the pyramid. That group of people was the preparatory summoners. This image contained a lot of information. Everyone took a look and firmly memorized the contents of the image. Many of you here are like me, at the 2-elemental realm. I wonder what rank our 2-elemental realm are according to the summoners' ranks in that world. Yin Duo asked. According to the summoners' ranks in that world, all of you here can only be considered the lowest level of preparatory summoners. You haven't stepped into the single elemental realm yet. The chief researcher of the base said calmly. What? Yin Duo was stunned. He didn't expect it to be like this. Everyone else in the classroom was also stunned. In that world, only those whose physical strength has reached the 3rd elemental realm and whose divine force points have exceeded 630 in the secret mandala can be considered a single sun realm summoner. Because our world doesn't have a single sun realm divine spring, no matter how much divine force you have, according to that world standards, you can only be considered a preparatory summoner. Once your divine force points exceed 840 and you haven't been baptized in the single sun realm divine spring, the single sun realm divine spring will be useless to you. that person will forever lose the possibility of advancing to the single sun realm and won't be able to receive the baptism of other divine springs. The path of a summoner will be astray, and the road to godhood will be severed. This is why the Skymender plan chose you guys, because you guys have limitless potential over there. Many of our summoners with over 840 points of divine force are useless over there. They don't have much potential in the future. This truth was simply too heart-wrenching. After all this time, it turned out that this world's summoner cultivation system was incomplete due to a lack of conditions. Once a summoner's divine force points exceeded 840 points and didn't advance to the single sun realm, it was as bad as falling short. It was equivalent to holding an extra tile in a mahjong game. It was impossible to win even if you wanted to. Hearing this, Xiaopingan broke out in a cold sweat. He was glad that he didn't get too many realm pearls before. Otherwise, with his ability, if he had more realm pearls, his divine power would definitely exceed 840 points. That would really be the arrogant dragon's regret, completely cutting off the possibility of continuing to advance on the path of a summoner. Bathing in a single sun realm divine spring is a crucial step for a summoner to advance to the single sun realm. Are there many benefits to bathing in that divine spring? Yenduo continued to ask. Yes, the divine spring of a single sun realm in that world can allow your body to be reborn. Furthermore, it can also transform your secret mandala and make your secret mandala even more powerful. The slave soldiers you summon now definitely won't be able to kill the devil fire spiders, but I once saw a summoner in that world summon a slave soldier and kill a few devil fire spiders with my own eyes. Slave soldiers could kill devil fire spiders? Everyone was shocked once again. How much divine force does a single sun realm require? Apart from the divine spring of a single sun realm, is there a two-sun realm divine spring? To enter the two-sun realm, your secret mandala's divine force points must increase by at least 840 points on top of the single sun realm's 630 points. It must reach at least 1,470 points before you can advance to the two-sun realm. The newly increased divine force points of the three-sun realm are 1,050 points, and so on. It's the same all the way to the nine-sun realm. Apart from the divine spring of the single sun realm, there are corresponding divine springs for each realm. Not to mention the nine-sun realm, just thinking about the divine force points needed to break through to the three-sun realm was enough to make people dizzy. Are there many summoners in that world? If there aren't many summoners in that world, they shouldn't be able to support such a level, a summoner asked. Yes, there are many, and they're all very powerful. In that world, there's a profession called Sacred Master. Sacred Masters are also summoners, but they have a secret technique that can help others successfully fuse certain realm pearls. In that world, as long as an ordinary person has 3 Foundation Establishment Realm Pearls and find a Sacred Master who is proficient in fusing the Foundation Establishment Realm Pearls, with the help of that Sacred Master, he can successfully fuse the 3 Foundation Establishment Realm Pearls with a 100% success rate. Could it be that those Sacred Masters don't have the mystery of boundary separation? A summoner asked. Sacred Masters also have the mystery of boundary separation. Without the mystery of boundary separation, under the domino effect, the prerequisite for the profession of Sacred Master wouldn't exist. This is a paradox. Sacred Masters should use some kind of unimaginable secret technique to help others successfully fuse the realm pearls. Wu Zhanfeng frowned and said with a serious expression, "That's right, Sacred Masters also have the mystery of boundary separation." The chief researcher of the base nodded. Different Sacred Masters have different types of realm pearls that can help others successfully fuse. Some Sacred Masters have less, while others have more. As for the Sacred Master's secret technique, we still don't know what it is exactly. We only know that the Sacred Master's secret technique comes from a realm pearl called the Sacred Master Realm Pearl. Sacred Master Realm Pearls are very rare, and we have never found one in the bodies of demons. Moreover, other than the special profession of Sacred Master, that world also has something called the Divine Sense Crystal. Divine sense crystals are very precious, and different divine sense crystals can help people successfully fuse different realm pearls. Did the previous heaven-mending plan bring back anything from that world? For instance, strange objects like the divine sense crystal? A summoner asked. When passing through a space crack, besides our own bodies, we cannot bring anything with us. This includes the items in the spatial equipment you fuse with, as well as the items in the Divine Runic Master's spatial warehouse. Everyone came naked and left naked. Hearing the chief researcher of the base say this, the eyes of all the men in the classroom turned towards Jiang Duo, and the others. Cough, cough, if that's the case, then what if the girls run into bad people? Can I apply to go with the girls and protect them? There was actually a thick-skinned fellow who said this in a righteous manner. The atmosphere in the classroom suddenly became strange. The several female summoners' cheeks flushed red. If there really is someone who doesn't have eyes and thinks that us girls are easy to bully, then we'll castrate him. Jiang Duo coldly said. Haha, I'm just joking. The fellow who had just volunteered to protect the girls dryly laughed. Everyone will go in groups of men and women. The first few groups have already prepared clothes, so there's no need to worry. Hearing the chief researcher of the base say this, the strange atmosphere in the classroom slowly dissipated. Chapter 158. The ice-cold water sprayed down from his head. Xia Pingon raised his head and stood in the bathroom, allowing the ice-cold water droplets to slide down from his body. Xia Pingon's body was not considered robust, and the muscles on his body were not as exaggerated as those of a bodybuilder. However, the muscles on his body were clearly defined, as if they were carved out of marble and filled with a kind of charm that alternated between hardness and softness. Under the cold water, the motionless Ming of Scylla tattoo on Xia Pingon's back became more vivid. The water could not only wash away the dust and sweat on the body, but could also completely calm the mind and brain. Just this afternoon, Xia Pingon and the others completed 2 days of study. Tomorrow morning, the 54 people participating in the Skymender plan would enter the spatial rift in batches and head to that mysterious world. According to the chief researcher of the base, the world on the other side of the spatial rift was officially called Yuanxiu. Yuanxiu. This was a strange name with an oriental charm. No one knew why that world was called Yuanxiu. The two words Yuanxiu were recorded in the ancient books of that world. The people of that world rarely used it themselves. For the people of that world, they preferred to call the place they lived in So-and-so continent. Yuanxiu was so big that even now, the first 4 batches of people who entered Yuanxiu didn't know how big that world was. Yuanxiu had 9 discovered continents. The area of each continent easily exceeded the area of all the continents on Earth combined. The summoners of Yuanxiu could become gods. At the same time, that world was filled with all kinds of unimaginable creatures, demons, and ghosts. Yuanxiu didn't have nuclear energy. For some reason, the entire Yuanxiu couldn't use electricity. The first few batches of elites who entered Yuanxiu, including some scientists and top engineers, had planned to bring Yuanxiu into the era of electricity and create a technological empire in that world. Then, they would use the power of technology to find and destroy the Dark Tower. However, this plan had undoubtedly failed. When a world couldn't use electricity, there wouldn't be any modern technology. Coal and steam were the most commonly used energy sources in that world. Guns, gunpowder, cars, and trains were all available in that world. The level of technological development in that world was similar to this world's first industrial revolution. There were summoners who wanted to become gods, all kinds of demons and ghosts, as well as guns, steam engines, ships, and trains. That world felt a little magical. There were all kinds of big and small family forces, sects that worshipped all kinds of gods, countries with all kinds of political systems, sects, mercenary groups. That world was extraordinarily complicated. Not only did the summoners in that world have to face all kinds of monsters, but the wars and struggles between humans were also extremely intense. For the people of this world, space invasions and those monsters are the greatest enemies of all human beings. However, it was different in that world. In that world, races and monsters such as demon wolves, demon rats, demon fire spiders, and so on were also hostile to the humans of that world, but that hostility was not as urgent as the life and death of this world. The wars and conflicts between the humans in that world were even more intense. There were wars and conflicts between different sects, countries, and clans. There were also wars and conflicts that were mixed with all kinds of factors. They almost never stopped. This might be Xia Pingan's last bath in this world. As Xia Pingan washed his body with the ice-cold water, he went through the various information he had learned about that world in the past 2 days. The ice-cold water made Xia Pingan's mind unusually active. He classified, summarized, and refined the information in his mind to find the most useful information for himself. This information was only a part of the Yuanxiu world. It was collected from the previous Heaven Mending Plan. The impact of the first 4 missions of the Heaven Mending Plan on the Yuanxiu world was like a drop of water in the ocean. It did not cause the slightest ripple. Those who went to the Yuanxiu world and did not return were either sacrificed or missing. Xia Pingan was very interested in the Sage Master of that world. According to the chief researcher of the base, the Sage Master of that world could cultivate summoners and help them smoothly integrate with some realm beads. Therefore, the Sage Master of that world had the highest status among the summoners. What kind of realm beads were the Sage Master's realm beads? If he could become a Sage Master, it would be of great help to the completion of the Heaven Patching Plan. After taking a bath, just as he dried his hair and changed into a new set of clothes, the doorbell rang. Xia Pingan opened the door and saw Yin Duo standing outside in high spirits. "How is it? Are you ready?" Yin Duo raised his eyebrows at Xia Pingan. "Let's go." Tonight was their last night in this world. They would leave tomorrow morning. Therefore, the 54 summoners of the Great Fire Country had a small gathering tonight to prepare a last dinner. After arriving at that world, they might not even have the chance to gather together. In the past 2 days, the details of the Heaven Patching Plan had been clarified. This mission was completely free. There were no teams or captains. As long as they arrived at that world, everyone would be free. Except for the final mission of destroying the Dark Tower, everyone could do whatever they wanted and take any action they wanted. Of course, if you wanted to team up with someone, you could do that too. Xia Pingan and Yin Duo arrived at the small dining hall in the base. More than half of the 54 people had already arrived. The dining hall was filled with a soothing atmosphere. There were some drinks and cold food on the tables. Apart from Xia Pingan and the others who were carrying out this mission, no one else from the base was here. The atmosphere in the dining hall was relatively free, but there was also some uneasiness and agitation. Everyone gathered in 2s and 3s and chatted. "Haha, third brother, you're here too." Seeing that Wu Zhanfeng had arrived, Yin Duo raised his voice and winked at Xia Pingan before striding towards Wu Zhanfeng. Wu Zhanfeng originally had his back facing them and was taking food from the table. When he heard Yin Duo's voice, Xia Pingan saw Wu Zhanfeng's shoulder stiffen. Xia Pingan smiled and ignored Yin Duo and Wu Zhanfeng. Instead, he walked towards a group of people at the side. That group of people was in the middle of a discussion. "I feel that when we get there, it's best if we organize a treasure hunting group. If we can find a cave abode or hidden treasure left behind by a high-level summoner, or a vein of mysterious divine consciousness crystals, our strength will definitely increase tremendously. This will help us quickly integrate into that world and obtain the resources we need." The summoner who said this was called Li Yang. He was a chubby man with a round face and small eyes. He was very active. "Li Yang, don't joke around. There are 54 of us, and we're not even at the One Sun realm. When we get there, we'll first develop and live in seclusion. It's best if we don't attract attention. If we really gather together to hunt for treasures, we'll be digging our own graves. Once we get used to the environment over there, it's best if we plan our next move. With just a few of us now, even if we find something good over there, we won't be able to keep it. Even if we die, it'll be a disaster. Someone in the group immediately raised a different opinion. It's precisely because we're weak that we need to be more united when we get there. Liang said, unconvinced. You only see the strength of being united, but you don't see the risks of being united. There are 54 of us. If we're separated, we might seem weaker, but we'll be more flexible and have more opportunities. To put it bluntly, even if a few of us are sacrificed, the others will still be alive and can continue to look for opportunities to become stronger and search for the Dark Tower. If we get together and something happens, the loss will be huge and difficult to make up for. No matter what others do, when I get there, I'll definitely act alone. I feel that joining a clan or sect and using the strength of those clans and sects to strengthen ourselves and search for the Dark Tower is the best choice, someone else said. If we join a clan or sect, we might just become cannon fodder. After listening to everyone's conversation, Xiao Pingan took a cup of the base's specialty snow plum wine and went to a corner of the restaurant to drink quietly. He wondered how Xia Ning, Old Two, and the others were doing. The situation in Izhou should be better. Before leaving, Xiao Pingan thought of Xia Ning, Old Two, and the others. Xiao Pingan shook his head and laughed self-deprecatingly. He prided himself on being straightforward and never being sloppy. However, at this moment, he was still reluctant to part with them. His feelings were a little complicated. Fortunately, the snow plum wine with only a little over 10% alcohol content was refreshing and fragrant. It was able to relax one's mind. After drinking half of the wine, a fragrant wind blew beside him. Jiang Duo, who was wearing a long purple dress, was holding a cup of wine and walking to Xia Pingan's side. How is it? Do you have any plans when you get there? Jiang Duo asked Xiao Pingan while holding a cup of wine. The situation over there is very complicated. It's useless to say anything now. When we get there, we'll act according to the situation. Why? You don't want to tell me. Or are you afraid that I'll miss you? Jiang Duo's eyes flickered as she glanced at Xiao Pingan flirtatiously. The atmosphere tonight was a little special. In just a short while, Xiao Pingan saw Yan Duo holding Wu Zhanfeng's shoulder. The two of them had already walked towards two beautiful female summoners not far away. The two female summoners were called Lang Xia and Su Qingqing. They were very beautiful. Ming Rulin was still not present tonight, but everyone seemed to be used to it. Xiao Pingan retracted his gaze and looked at Jiang Duo. He smiled. Actually, you've already thought about what to do when you get there. Why do you need to ask me? My choice is actually similar to yours. It's just that it depends on the opportunity. We'll make our choice when we get there, I understand. The power of an individual is indeed too insignificant. I hope we have a chance to work together. Jiang Duo nodded and smiled. She clinked glasses with Xiao Pingan, took a sip of wine, and then walked away. There was indeed no need to say too much when communicating with smart people. Xiao Pingan had just finished a glass of wine and was about to get some cold food when he realized that the entire restaurant was suddenly silent. He turned his head and saw Ming Rulin, who was wearing a snow-white dress at the entrance of the restaurant. She was like a bright moon, and her entire body was shining with a clear light as she walked into the restaurant. No one expected Ming Rulin to actually come tonight, so the restaurant was temporarily silent. Ming Rulin swept her gaze across the restaurant and walked directly towards Xiao Pingan. She said something to Xiao Pingan that no one expected. When I get there, I need a male companion. It's best if he can become my husband. Can you be this person? The entire restaurant was instantly silent. Under such circumstances, a certain summoner's hand trembled due to shock, and the sound of the wine glass shattering on the ground was exceptionally crisp. To be honest, this was the first time Xiao Pingan saw Ming Rulin talking to someone else. Moreover, it was hard to resist once she spoke. Such a stunning woman actually came to look for a husband the moment she opened her mouth. Moreover, she was looking for him. Xiao Pingan wanted to confirm if Ming Rulin was joking with him. However, when he looked into those beautiful eyes, he saw calmness and seriousness. There was no hint of teasing in those eyes. Chapter 159. Yin Duo couldn't help but spit out all the wine in his mouth onto Wu Zhanfeng's face. Yin Duo turned his head and stared at where Xia Pinggan was. The expression on his face could no longer be described with the word astonishment. Wu Zhanfeng, who was sprayed with wine, also seemed to have forgotten about the wine on his face. He also looked at where Xia Pinggan was in astonishment. The restaurant was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. The people who were still chatting were all silent. Everyone turned their heads and looked at where Xia Pinggan and Ming Rulin were. Yin Duo was also very surprised. What was going on? The first thing that the beautiful Ming Rulin, whose temperament was like an orchid in an empty valley, said in public was to confess her love to Xia Pinggan. Standing where Yin Duo was and looking at Ming Rulin and Xia Pinggan, he could see Ming Rulin's curvy figure. Ming Rulin's gorgeous long dress dragged on the ground, like the bright moonlight sprinkling on the ground. Ming Rulin, who was wearing high heels, didn't lose to Xia Pinggan at all. She was even slightly taller. Her beautiful side profile and her beautiful black hair were all soul-stirring. Where am I lacking? After the surprise, Yin Duo felt inexplicably indignant. Xia Pinggan never flirted with girls. He didn't have any interaction with Ming Rulin before. Why were all these girls rushing to Xia Pinggan's side? Did Xia Pinggan awaken some ability to bewitch women and didn't tell him? Then, under everyone's gaze, Xia Pinggan didn't say anything. He just left the restaurant with Ming Rulin. Were they going to the bridal chamber? Xia Pinggan, you beast. Yin Duo's thoughts were running wild. Then, he saw Wu Zhanfeng wiping the wine off his face and staring at him. When Xia Pinggan and Ming Rulin left the restaurant, the others were naturally too embarrassed to chase after them. Fortunately, the two didn't seem to have gone too far. Through the restaurant glass wall, they could see Xia Pinggan and Ming Rulin walking to the garden outside the restaurant. From here, they could still see their backs. Xia Pinggan exchanged a few words with Ming Rulin. After that, Ming Rulin smiled and left. Only Xia Pinggan returned to the restaurant. Yin Duo couldn't help but lean over and ask in a low voice, "Have you known Ming Rulin for a long time?" "This is the first time we've spoken today." Xia Pinggan shrugged. "Then why did she? That girl is a little special. She's different from the masses." "What's so special?" "I promised her that I would keep her secret." Yin Duo smiled evilly and winked at Xia Pinggan. He looked like he deserved a beating. "You didn't promise her, did you?" "Promise what?" That, to become her husband." "I promised her that we could be friends in the future." "That's it?" Yin Duo seemed to be in disbelief as he watched the juicy gossip fly away in front of him. "What else?" Although the two of them were talking in the restaurant, the people around them were listening attentively. They heard Xia Pinggan's words. They didn't expect Ming Rulin to make a surprise appearance at the last dinner before they left. She even almost made a small scandal that could make people's eyeballs pop out. This was interesting. What was so special about Ming Rulin? Why would such a woman look at Xia Pinggan in a different light? Many people had this question in their hearts. However, Xia Pinggan didn't say anything, so everyone could only keep this small question in their hearts. Only Jiang Duoer's gaze towards Xia Pinggan became brighter and deeper. Among everyone, only Jiang Duoer could roughly guess something. Jiang Duoer also knew why Ming Rulin was usually cold and didn't like to interact with people. This was because Ming Rulin had awakened a very powerful mind-reading ability. For such a beautiful woman with such an ability, interacting with people was a very painful thing for Ming Rulin. Ming Rulin knew very well what men and women would think when they saw her. Therefore, Ming Rulin preferred to be alone most of the time. To Ming Rulin, being alone was a special kind of misophobia. This ability and long-term habit of being alone also made Ming Rulin's behavior very different from the rest. However, Ming Rulin actually trusted Xia Pinggan. This was out of Jiang Duoer's expectations. Unless, in Ming Rulin's eyes, Xia Pinggan's heart was very clean. It was so clean that Ming Rulin trusted him. Tonight's banquet ended just like that. For the 54 people who participated in the Skyminder plan, many of them found teammates tonight. Even if they didn't, they still got to know each other better. Early the next morning, after a night of rest, the 54 people, including Xia Pingan, came to the teleportation area of the base for the first time. The teleportation area was at the bottom of the base. It was heavily guarded. To enter the teleportation area, they had to pass through several security doors. General Zhang Yuzhong personally led everyone into the huge round room where the spatial rift leading to the other world was located. In the center of the room, more than 2 meters above the ground, there were 2 huge metal rings. In the middle of the 2 metal rings, there was a 20-meter-tall circular spatial rift that was flashing with milky white light in front of everyone's eyes. That spatial rift was different from all the spatial rifts that Xia Pingan had seen before. The spatial rift in front of them was like a kaleidoscope that bullied people's eyes. White light and fog rolled inside. Looking at it from different angles, the spatial rift gave people a completely different feeling. In some people's eyes, the spatial rift was rolling outwards as if it was going to spit out something at any time. In others' eyes, the spatial rift was shrinking inwards as if it was going to swallow something at any time. This place was heavily guarded. The entire building was like a huge metal ball that could be sealed off at any time. A large group of soldiers and summoners were stationed here. At the same time, a group of researchers and scientists in white coats were busy in the surrounding rooms. General, everything is normal with the spatial rift. We can teleport at any time. A scientist in a white coat and glasses walked over and reported to Zhang Yuzhong. Zhang Yuzhong nodded. He looked at the 54 students and said calmly, "The situation at the spatial rift is normal. Girls, go over first." 8 female summoners, including Jiang Duo, and Ming Ruolin, walked out of the team and stood in front of the spatial rift one by one. Salute! Following Zhang Yuzhong's order, all the soldiers present gave them a solemn military salute. Although the 8 female summoners were women, their actions at this moment were filled with awe-inspiring righteousness. They were not afraid of death and had a heroic spirit that was not inferior to men. The 8 women did not hesitate. They stepped into the spatial rift together and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Xia Pingan and the others were waiting patiently below. According to the base, the other side of the spatial rift was in a huge cave on a deserted island. The deserted island was located in the sea southwest of the Mujiao continent, one of the 9 continents of the Yuanxiu world. The island was more than 300 miles away from the coast. There were a few small family forces near the coast and a bustling port city. As long as they reached the island, they could use the trees on the island to build boats and rafts to leave. Of course, if they were confident in their swimming ability, they could also try to swim over. 300 miles was not far. In the sea near the island, there were no powerful sea monsters except for sharks and sea snakes. The first few batches of people who entered had already renovated the cave on the island and turned it into a secret stronghold. They left a lot of things in the cave, such as clothes and some belongings. Jiang Duo, and the others were not in any danger in the cave. After waiting for 2 hours, Zhang Yuzhong spoke again. He nodded at Xia Pingan and the others. "You can go over now." Xia Pingan and the others also walked to the spatial rift on the platform. 46 men, just like 46 members of Suicide Squad, going on an expedition. Salute! General Zhang Yuzhong and the soldiers present saluted Xia Pingan and the others again. After taking one last look at the base, Xia Pingan was the first to walk into the spatial rift. The others also walked into the spatial rift one by one. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared in front of everyone in the base. Zhang Yuzhong watched Xia Pingan and the others leave. His lips were tightly pursed. There was respect in his eyes, but also a trace of pain and regret that others could not detect. These 54 people were the elites of the younger generation of summoners in the Great Fire Country. These 54 people would most likely die. Even if they survived, they might not be able to come back. However, for the country, in order to end the catastrophe brought to this world by the spatial invasion, someone had to make a sacrifice. They were the ones who had to make that sacrifice. Zhang Yuzhong stood in front of the spatial rift and looked at the unpredictable spatial rift. His body was as straight as a stone pillar, and he did not move for a long time. A few minutes later, the spatial rift flashing with a milky white brilliance seemed to have some abnormalities. The white light inside started to distort irregularly, and there was a faint trace of red light coming out of the spatial rift. This situation had never happened before. Zhang Yuzhong's expression changed slightly. All the staff in the teleportation area suddenly became nervous. The soldiers had already entered their respective combat positions. The summoners were ready to cast their spells. The muzzles of several electromagnetic cannons sliding on the dome of the teleportation space were already aimed at the spatial rift. This spatial crack was two-way, so there was no telling what would come out of it. Reporting to General, we have detected spatial turbulence. It has already interfered with the stability of the spatial rift. The scientist wearing a white coat and glasses ran over, sweating profusely. Spatial turbulence, not a spatial invasion. That was fine. The spatial turbulence lasted for 2 minutes before disappearing. The spatial rift was normal. Zhang Yuzhong sighed in relief. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.